Today's date is December 18th, 2017. Hello and welcome to Hit the Books Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Holcomb.
And I'm Emery Saunders.
And we're here to give you all the saucy deets on everything comics this week. For those of you unfamiliar with the show, this is our weekly podcast where we talk about the world of comic books. I'm typically your DC fanboy. He's typically your Marvel fanboy.
That's right.
Yeah. And we bring you the latest releases coming to your comic shops on Wednesday. We bring you the latest news and discuss it for your enjoyment. And then at the end of the show, we bring you our topics of discussion. And hopefully you enjoy that. Remember, you can find us on YouTube, on Stitcher, on iTunes, all for free. So if you don't mind, give us a like, subscribe, leave a comment, give us some constructive criticism if you have it.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear from you. And let us know your thoughts on everything we discussed today. Remember, there's other content still on our YouTube channel and everywhere else that you can check out. We got some instructional videos, and we got several movie reviews, and we're looking to get some more volume reviews and other, animation reviews and other things, video game reviews. So
Plenty more to come.
Look forward to all that. Once the Christmas season's over, I think we'll have more time to really hit all this stuff and push it further.
Oh, yeah.
But we
plenty
appreciate,
caught up, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We appreciate your viewership and all your contributions, and we hope to see you again. So, without further ado, Emery, what have you been reading?
Well, Christmas came early last week with Mr. Miracle.
Ooh. Mr. Miracle, a book we have been raging about and loving since its inception. And I have you to thank for it because you introduced it to me.
Oh, yeah. And for good reason. I mean, my God. And by that, I mean my new gods.
Now, I think this issue reinforces more than the other issues that this book is technically a Vertigo comic. Even though it has the DC logo for now, once they relaunch the Vertigo line, I think this is going to return to the Vertigo line. Because there is some adult content in this issue.
There is. And
a little more than previous issues.
Yeah. It becomes very apparent that once you're married, you get to do stuff with your marriage partner. And that's... it's tastefully done. I think.
I don't know. I didn't understand why it needed to be in the book, but I understood why they did it, I guess. I don't know. It just seemed like an excuse to draw some expression panels.
I mean...
And a lot of expression panels.
For me to... explain my point of view on that, I would have to give away, exactly why they are where they are in the book. But... I thought it was necessary and hot.
They don't call her Big Barda for nothing.
Oh, yeah.
So this book, it answers the age-old question. What happens when the escape artist, the greatest escape artist to ever live, is put in a bondage situation with his lover? Does he escape? Does he pull out in time?
The question is, can he?
Yeah. So I don't know. It was again. It's like the other comics where it's it's weird and it throws some clues your way, I think, but it also tries to throw some other things to throw you off the trail.
Yeah.
What's going on and the big mystery. I'm still a little antsy. I'm still a little worried that King's going to let us down in the end with some silly explanation or some silly mystery solved moment that's not
Oh, he better not.
anything that I was hoping for or, getting excited about. I don't know. We'll see.
This man is walking a very thin tightrope with on paper, what looks like, in some cases sounds like, a pretty ridiculous character. But he's managed to make it not just endearing, but electrifying. There is something about this character that Tom King captured that just makes it magnetic.
Yeah, and we talk about this book a lot, but I feel like there's probably some people out there that just have no idea who Big Barda and Mr. Miracle and Orion and all these characters are.
Right.
So let me give you a brief rundown so you can run out and grab these fucking books before they're gone.
Yes, do it.
There's a group
Or get
in
them online if you have to.
in the DC universe, there's a group called the New Gods. They're basically these godlike figures that exist in all forms of the DC universes, and they're usually at odds with Darkseid, who is the big bad of the DC universe. You think of Thanos, he comes from Darkseid. So Darkseid was the original big badass of the universe, big purple asshole. And they're usually at odds, and they're usually trying to fight over what they call the anti-life equation, which if you gain access to it, you can basically manipulate all of the universes however you want, do whatever you want, change reality, change life, death, all of it. So this is what the basic premise of these things are. Mr. Miracle and Big Barda are children of the New Gods that in a trade with Apocalypse, the planet Apocalypse, not the Marvel character Apocalypse.
Right. Let's try to differentiate these things as best as we can.
They traded children to each other in an effort to try to make a peace that would last. You have some of our guys, we have some of your guys, raise them how you want, and this way we maintain the peace because we don't want to kill our own offspring, essentially.
Yeah.
And on the Apocalypse side, you have Mr. Miracle, who grows up being tortured by a kind of goofy Apocalypse character.
Granny Goodness.
Granny Goodness, yes. If you watch the Justice League animated show, you probably are familiar with Granny Goodness. But he grows up being tortured by Granny Goodness, and he becomes the world's greatest escape artist by essentially just escaping from all of her torture devices over and over and over again, only to be captured and tortured again. And then Big Barda was a very similar situation, except she was big, strong, and powerful and basically fucked everything up. And eventually the two escape and end up on Earth and part of the, past timelines of the New Gods that are kind of irrelevant. You don't need to know them.
Right.
And Mr. Miracle becomes, kind of a sideshow on Earth because he escapes from all these different traps and designs, and he becomes a superhero as well and all these things. And
yeah, like imagine if David Blaine, one, didn't look like he was asleep all the time, and two, just happened to have a superhero costume in which he would basically perform escape artistry. That's basically this character, but with like the darkest backstory.
Yeah. So they are gods, essentially, in the terms of the DC universe, and they do have superpowers, super strength, super endurance, those types of things. On Orion, Orion is essentially Darkseid's son, who went to the New Gods and was raised by the New Gods and raised by Highfather, who is essentially the head god of the New Gods. So that's your basic setup for all of this stuff. They're all familiar in the Superman universe and the Kirby sagas and all those things. So these characters have a sordid history. They're kind of goofy at their core, but don't let that deter you from this. I've told you all that you need to know. Big Barda and Mr. Miracle are husband and wife because, again, they escaped Apocalypse together. They experienced all the trauma of Apocalypse together, and they ended up on Earth. They have a sort of relationship that way, and they go back to the New Gods because they've reunited with the New Gods and whatever else, and they help them to fight Darkseid because Darkseid's a dick.
And whenever Darkseid comes around, they show up to help out because fuck that guy.
Now, I don't want to tell you the start of this book because it's key to the story, and it's a very big moment in the first issue. So please just take our word for it. Take the rundown we just gave you and go pick up these books or download them on Comixology or whatever and read them if you are even a fleeting fan of DC Comics or Tom King's work. The art is great, the story is great, and it's totally from characters I never gave a shit about. So
right,
it's pretty awesome.
This is, again, like I've said it before, and I'll say it again, this is Watchmen level stuff we're getting here.
Yeah,
this is
pretty cool.
This is like new classic. This is the type of thing that will be talked about for years.
Yeah. Assuming he can land on his feet. Assuming he
ends
in
that's
positive
the one
way. Yeah.
That's the one thing about this book is that it has to stick the landing.
Yeah. What else have you been reading?
I read a couple of other issues, one of which was Maestro's, I believe, number 3?
Yeah. I love Maestros. Go read Maestros.
Yeah, Image.
First, second, third issues, all great, all wonderful artwork,
Oh, yeah.
and very adult. Don't give this to your child.
Yeah, this is very adult, but it's very detailed. It's very... There's like a sharpness to the art style
Yeah.
in this one. That
It's really nice.
Yeah, it's very rarely do you get art this like good in uniform.
Yeah. Inside, outside, just great. Every issue.
Oh yeah. Also got to read another title, another number 1 put out by Image, Sleepless, which honestly I have to say is pretty, at least from my opinion, pretty standard like high fantasy affair.
Written and drawn by who?
This
Top
was,
2 names on there.
let's see. We've got Sarah Vaughn as the writer, Layla not DeLuca, Del Duca as the artist.
I'll show you some Dukas. Duke on your chest.
You won't. I heard you wouldn't. But yeah, it seems like the kind of high fantasy affair that's going to maybe involve some kind of like courtly intrigue, or maybe fighting some kind of monster or dragon, or some kind of like high fantasy war between kingdoms and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just a quick shout out for Maestros. Just make sure we give the proper credit here.
Maestros.
Steve Scroce is the writer and artist, and Dave Stewart is the colorist. So Steve Scroce does the bulk of the work for this book, and he's doing a fucking outstanding job.
Hell
And
yeah,
then,
he is.
Obviously, Mr. Miracle, as we said, Tom King's is writing it, and Gerard's is the artist on the book. So definitely pick those books up. But go on.
I also got to read a Dark Horse comic, which couldn't say that for a long time. Giants, which honestly seems like what if you were some street kid in the Bronx or something, and then also Godzilla.
Yeah, I feel like it's West Side Story
Yeah.
with surprise giant monsters at the end. I wasn't really into it.
Surprise! If you're into kaiju, this might be up your alley.
Sleepless, you were talking about earlier. It didn't really catch me. Some concepts about it were really cool, and I was really into, but I felt like nothing really happened, and nothing was really explained in that first issue. They just kind of allude to a bunch of things you don't know,
Yeah.
which I hate when writers do that for the first issue, because that makes me not want to read your book now.
Right.
You know?
It's like, let's say a bunch of jargon that really makes absolutely no sense out of context.
Yeah, the art wasn't bad, but it wasn't especially wonderful either. You know, it was just middle of the field, average.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'll probably pick up the second issue because I'm interested in a few specific aspects of the world, and I think it could be really cool if they flesh it out a little bit. Hopefully the second issue fleshes it out.
Yeah. It's like there's a lot that I think that book missed out on narratively as far as being able to grab the reader, I guess.
Yeah. Anything else?
Port of Earth.
Woo! Number
Port
2.
of Earth. My God. This is basically, like, in my mind, this is what I would want from like a sequel or a side story to something like District 9.
Yeah. This is from Zach Kaplan, Andrea Muti, and Vladimir Popov is the colorist. So, yeah. Port of Earth, I think we talked about it last week a little bit when I said issue 2 was coming out. To me, this book, once again, exemplifies like a version of End of Watch,
Yeah.
but in a world where you have alien interaction, where this alien company is using your planet as a fuel source, you know, for its water.
Yeah.
Essentially an alien version of ExxonMobil is coming in and, you know, causing issues.
It's like, hey, yeah, you mind if we create a gas station right here on your planet? I can't control all of the intergalactic trucker assholes that might show up. But
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a great book. I'm 100% into this world. It caught me from the first issue real quick, and the second issue drove it home even further. Like I said, it's kind of like an end of watch thing because they got these drone cameras following them for a documentary.
Yeah.
They're shooting about the police task force, which handles, any aliens that leave the port because they're not supposed to leave the port,
Yeah.
They're supposed to come to the Earth, refuel, and then leave because in previous incidents, the aliens or the humans had attacked each other, because of prejudice or because they're fucking crazy or because they're fucking space bandits or whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
So they have this task force to handle it, and the first book sets up a very cool premise, and the second book makes it feel more intense, makes it feel like there's more at stake.
Yeah.
If they mess this up, so
Yeah, that's I think the thing that you mentioned as far as like the floating cameras around for the documentary,
yeah,
that I think personally made me think of District 9, since it's technically the style of filming that movie is.
shaky cam.
Yeah. Shaky cam, someone else is recording. I'm going to talk at the cameraman who doesn't say anything usually.
Yeah. I think you're totally on point. I think like if you combined End of Watch with District 9,
oh yeah,
you would get Port of Earth.
Oh my god.
And if you liked either of those movies, I think you'd really love Port of Earth. So
yeah,
definitely
pick up this book.
Yeah.
Thank you, Image. Yet again.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Yep.
Anything else?
Um
Well, the one other issue I read was Coyotes #1, I believe, also from Image. Can you hand that to me? Thank you. And this one comes from Sean Lewis and Caitlin Yarsky. And I picked this one up because A, it's a #1, and I'm a sucker for #1s. And B, the cover art looked kind of cool. And I picked this book up, and it's setting up a world where you have basically every organization from the top to the bottom is kind of corrupt, and they live in this world where apparently there's like the coyote version of werewolves hunting specific women in this, I'm guessing, Mexican community.
like were coyotes?
Yeah, and I guess the story tries to follow this girl, although it does it very poorly. Tries to follow this girl who experienced an attack that killed her mom and her grandma because they went out of hiding to go have one night to themselves, and for some reason if they leave the house, then the coyotes can smell them and finds them and attacks them and whatever else. And then towards the middle of the book, she kills one, and it turns back to a human. And obviously, she's not surprised because apparently she's been doing this for a while with no explanation. And again, she's still just a child, and she's chopping off coyotes' heads with swords and shit, and getting people killed. And just nothing about this book made sense. And there's like really, really bad dialogue in this that it comes from like their host mother or whatever.
Yeah.
But she's talking like Samuel L. Jackson or something, but she's wearing this elegant like outfit, And I kept reading it in the Samuel L. Jackson voice just because of the dialogue, and they love the word motherfucker. It's elegant.
That was very
elegant
entertaining.
Mother.
Yeah.
And the story was told really poorly, and it was all over the place, and the dialogue was super like silly and like all over the place. Nothing was explained. And I think like the whole premise of this is that I think it's setting up an environment where men are unabashed, like carnivores coming after, preying upon poor women that can't defend themselves, like poor small girls. And I think that it's trying to paint that like corollary for the future, because all the coyotes that get killed are men that happen to know relatives of her. Like one dies and he goes, "I knew your sister," blah, blah, blah. And then he dies. Again, a disemboweled head that's transforming, but still managing to talk before it dies.
That's not how vocal cords work.
It's almost disaster artist level of stupidity. Yeah. Maybe you should writhe in pain before you shoot yourself.
I disagree. This real comic book.
But yeah, it's Not good. I don't recommend Coyotes whatsoever. Maybe there'll be more explanation. Maybe they'll get back on track. But the way it was told was confusing. The art looked fine. The art was good. I can't put any of the blame on the artist. But the dialogue was awful. The story premise seems really silly and just like out of place, and nothing's explained, and the stuff that is explained is just silly. I don't know. It's definitely not to my taste. If you want to test it out, feel free. But I don't think Coyotes is gonna go anywhere exceptional. If their covers don't really sell the books.
Yeah.
If they don't make up some ground in the future issues. I know issue 2 has been out, but I have no desire to pick it up after reading the first issue. So that takes us to our weekly segment. Did the content match the drapes? This is our weekly segment where we tell you whether the cover of the week and variant cover of the previous week had content as good on the inside as the cover art on the outside. This week, I didn't get around to Reactor number 3. The big reason is because Reactor number 2 was not out yet. I don't know what.
Wait, what?
Yeah. I don't know what Vault Comics is doing, but
That's weird.
the release schedule is a little weird, and I didn't check for number 3 being available, so maybe there was a delay and neither one was released. But Fresh Comics had it labeled for release last week, and then issue 2 is labeled for release this week. So,
Yeah.
didn't cover that one. We'll see. Great cover art, but yeah, we'll see. Then the other one was Wonder Woman number. What was that?
It's Wonder Woman number 36.
The Wonder Woman number 36 variant, which is very cool. And I have to say, DC, I love this redesign. I still wish the barcode was on the back. It's a small thing. They did shrink it, but if that was on the back, this cover would be perfect because I love how they put the DC logo and the square box in the corner. It's very discreet, very stylish, and it looks good. It actually adds to the comic, I think. So
It's very much a step in the right direction.
I love it, and it's not always the same color. It's not like a big blue banner every time or a big red banner like Marvel. It actually changes color with the comic to be appropriate, and I think it looks great. So good job, DC. Thumbs up. I love what you're doing with the redesign. But yeah, this Wonder Woman cover was great. What did you think about the inside? I didn't want to read it because it's a part of a long storyline that's been going on for a while about one of Wonder Woman's siblings.
Yeah. About that. When it comes to a Wonder Woman story, I think one of the things that gets kind of lost in the ether is she is Greek. She comes from Greek gods. And for some reason, when we give her a new brother named Jason, it's like we're forgetting the fact that, she already has a brother that probably should have been in this comic, like Hercules.
Hercules.
I probably would have done that very same thing had he shown up. Had
Yeah.
he shown up, I would have done that,
If
but
you-
no.
This isn't a spoiler because this has been news for forever.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman is the daughter of Zeus and Hippolyta. Zeus famously fucks everybody.
Yes, he does.
So there's a lot of siblings.
Yes.
Not really a big surprise that she has another surprise sibling.
Right.
And she often fights with her siblings, sometimes not knowing that they're siblings. Sometimes she does know they're siblings. In the case of Hercules, who beats her ass from time to time. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just think it's silly that they can literally just make up as many siblings as they want,
Right. It's like when there's already a number of siblings that they could be pulling from. It just... It seems like, we're going to try something new by coming up with something that doesn't make sense. Why?
So I'm getting the feeling that there is this one specific passage that made you say, nope. And it's a passage you showed me, which I would probably agree with if I had read it.
Well, there's a passage and also the depiction of a character that just turned my brain completely off.
Now, for those who remember, I think last episode, we talked about how they made a poor decision in New 52, even though I liked a lot of what they did. I didn't like what they did with Lobo, where they took Lobo and they made him into kind of a teenage emo character with a ton of power.
Right.
And
He was basically a pompadour fop.
there's a big bad in the DC universe that makes an appearance. We have mentioned him.
Yes, we have.
Hint, hint.
Yeah.
But he appears in this book. And I don't want to say it because it's spoilers for other events as well. But he looks like a dipshit.
Like his redesign,
He looks like a teenage asshole.
his redesign hurts me so much that I almost immediately just dropped the comic. This is a character who has not only been in the comics for a long time, but he has, because of his tenure, he has a very established look. A look that, if you want to add to it, check out Injustice 2. There are plenty of ways in which you could add and maybe tweak his original design. But the change here was so drastic that he was nearly unrecognizable. I couldn't believe it when the title character, Wonder Woman, called him out by name, and I just immediately said, "Nope." Nope,
So-
that's not him. Fake news.
Again, don't take this as the official. Content did not match the drapes. Take it with a grain of salt because we have not read up to this point in the event of Wonder Woman.
Right.
We're probably not going to read 36 issues anytime soon of Wonder Woman.
Maybe one
some
day I'll
good
revisit
recommendations.
this. But yeah.
I'm definitely going to catch up eventually, but Rebirth just rubbed me so wrongly that I just don't feel the need
It hurts.
for any of the main DC Universe lines right now. But maybe with this rebranding, maybe I'll give it a test shot and see how it looks. But what'd you think? Unofficial. Did the content match the drapes?
Unofficially, I'm going to say no.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ba-dum.
Well, and here's a thing that I don't want to discourage them from. I don't want to discourage companies like DC from trying new things. These companies could definitely benefit from trying new things, but there has to be some kind of recognition as to the trajectory that we're trying to establish for these characters. Not just, narratively, but art-wise. It's like you can see the pretty logical progression from, like, Wonder Woman's inception to Wonder Woman's current design. Like, it all kind of makes sense. But when you take characters like the main man, Lobo, a man with a very particular style, and then you change him into what they made him for New 52, it doesn't make sense.
I'd agree.
And I think that was changes like that are the kind of thing that will deter me from picking up issues like this or wanting to continue with issues or storylines or like across like multiple titles. If I see a character that I just say to myself, he would never do that. He would never do that. Why? I don't know. For me personally, that's a turnoff. I'd say there had to have been other designs that could have worked better than this.
Yeah, I agree from the limited stuff I saw in the book. That again, for context, take everything with a grain of salt because we don't have the context of the story. I'm sure the story might be fine if we read it all the way through, and the new character, the new sibling, cousin, whatever the fuck he is probably just fine,
Probably, but just on like face
that
value.
one event just kind of soured the whole progression of the book.
Yeah.
With that, let's get into the news.
Ooh. Yeah.
First up, we have the biggest news item, of course, the Disney buyout of 21st Century Fox.
Oh my God.
Now, there's a lot of information here, so I'm going to read directly from a news article. Okay, I'm going to give proper credit and everything, but stick with us. It might take a second.
Yeah, there's a lot to break down here.
Disney has officially acquired 21st Century Fox in a deal costing $52.4 billion.
My God.
Now, this is also in stock value. Okay. Disney will also assume $13.7 billion worth of the debt taken on by Fox as a whole.
It assumed the debt as well.
So they're basically doing what the Browns did with Brock Osweiler, where they paid him some money, but most of what they took was the debt. But
how generous.
because again, it was stocks that were paying for the actual buyout, not money itself. To give you context for this, the Marvel buyout by Disney was $4 billion. The Disney buyout of Lucasfilms cost about $4 billion,
Roughly the same.
which happened a little bit more recently. So with inflation, probably slightly less than what they spent for Marvel.
Yeah.
This buyout is in total over $60 billion with the debt. Over $60 billion. Marvel and
That's more-
Lucasfilms together were $8 billion. Holy shit.
That is more than 6 times. That is literally more than 6 times what they spent on both of those companies combined.
That is outrageous. Now, they're going to have to deal with a lot of lawsuits and anti-monopoly reviews and antitrust laws, and the paperwork is far more significant because you're buying a company that also owns several studios and companies and TV shows and rights and whatever else.
Right.
So there's a lot more to it than just the raw figure. So
Yeah.
that just means it's going to cost them even more in the long run, more time, more effort, because it's not just quite as cut and dry as Marvel properties, cut and dry as, Lucasfilm properties, which was 100% owned by George Lucas,
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting circumstance, and I think some for good and some for very kind of maybe bad. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah.
So let me read
My
you this
God.
article. This comes from Newsarama, written by Chris Arendt. Walt Disney has announced the acquisition of 21st Century Fox for $52.4 billion in stock, while carving out some assets to be retained by Fox's stockholders. As part of the deal, Disney will assume $13.7 billion of net debt that Fox has had on its books. Disney announced the deal Thursday morning, which would be pending final approval from each company's stockholders as well as government regulators. Now, big thing to note, the people that own Fox, the stockholders of Fox, they're getting Disney stock. So they are going to partially own Disney. So everything you don't like about Fox, watch out, because now they have a controlling stake in Disney as well. Really, this isn't a buyout of Fox per se. It's more of a fusion of Fox and Disney,
Yeah.
where Disney was just the bigger guy, so Disney's logo keeps the stay.
Yeah.
These people have a significant portion of Disney stocks now. So there's particular characters that people do not like from Fox, like Rupert Murdoch, who has a sordid history.
Yes, he does.
And now he's going to be a big owning interest in the Disney company and all Disney properties from now on. So this is something that makes me a little fearful, a little tentative about. This isn't just him selling his stock and giving it away. This is him trading his stock for Disney stock that gives him more money.
Yeah.
And a ruling interest. So big difference here, and you might want to watch out. All those things you may or may not like about certain Fox brands, they're going to be bleeding into Disney, even if Disney isn't buying the specific brand that
Right.
you may have feelings about. Quote, the acquisition of the stellar collection of business from 21st Century Fox reflects the increasing consumer demand for a rich diversity of entertainment experiences that are more compelling, accessible, and convenient than ever before, said Disney chairman and CEO Robert A. Iger, who, as part of the deal, renewed his employment contract through 2021. We're honored and grateful that Rupert Murdoch has entrusted us with the future of businesses he spent a lifetime building, and we're excited about this extraordinary opportunity to significantly increase our portfolio of well-loved franchises and branded content that greatly enhance our growing direct-to-consumer offerings. The deal will also substantially expand our international reach, allowing us to offer world-class storytelling, innovative distribution platforms, and to more consumers in key markets around the world. Another big thing to note about this is Fox owned 30% of Hulu, which is a streaming app that I'm very fond of. Disney also owns a 30% stake in Hulu. Now that Disney is pushing through this purchase, once the purchase is finally approved by regulators and everything, Disney will own the majority of Hulu, which means all your great Netflix content, it may not last. It may not stay there. Your Punisher, your Defenders, your Iron Fist, your Jessica Jones, your Luke Cage, your Daredevil.
That might be moving.
These things might be moving, or if the contract is exclusive to Netflix, they might not get their next few seasons because these properties are now in direct competition with a majority-owned Disney property, which is Hulu, which they're going to be pressing, I guarantee you. Maybe in replacement of their Disney exclusive streaming app they were going to do. I can envision where they put them together now and Hulu becomes this giant Disney streaming service.
Yeah. Easily.
So
oh my God.
That's another big part of this deal that people don't realize. So keep an eye out for that. I think Netflix might have some things to be afraid about. Amazon can eat it because Amazon's a huge industry corporation that can basically throw money out the window and set it on fire as long as they want.
Yeah.
Netflix,
like, Amazon
not so
has
much.
everything,
and Netflix has been struggling to make a profit for a while now. So if you love Netflix, you might want to watch out for this deal.
Yeah, prices might go up.
And to be fair, I love Hulu, I love Netflix, I love Amazon Prime, but
at the end of the day, those things are like another additional bill that you're paying for every month.
Yeah, we make fun of this DC streaming app all the time because who's going to buy it when you have to purchase all these other things to enjoy all the content you want?
Right.
Now it's especially true because DC is going to be competing with this juggernaut that is Disney.
Oh my God.
Warner Bros., let's face it, isn't going to be able to handle all that.
It's not on that level anywhere close.
Specifically named in Disney's acquisition in the entertainment properties include X-Men, Fantastic Four, Deadpool, Avatar. God, James Cameron, stop. I hope Disney immediately cancels all these extra Avatar movies because nobody wants them.
No. Oh.
The Simpsons, The Grand Budapest Hotel, Hidden Figures, Gone Girl, The Shape of Water, and The Martian.
And Dr. Dolittle.
Yes, Dr. Dolittle, I'm sure is included in the deal. Skip over, as we said, this purchase also includes Fox's 30% stake in Hulu, which combined with Disney's own 30% would give it majority control over the streaming service. The remaining portion is owned by Comcast and Time Warner, Comcast having dropped out of this deal, which led to the Disney purchase. Just prior to the acquisition agreement, Fox spun off the companies behind channels such as Fox, Fox News, Fox Business, FS1, FS2, and the Big Ten Network back into a new, as yet unnamed company to be owned by Fox's shareholders and not acquired by Disney. So you got people like Rupert Murdoch, which people don't necessarily have a fond opinion of, and things like Fox News, which has a sordid reputation. Not being held by Disney whatsoever, but those influencing hands now owning substantial stock in Disney and having a significant say in what goes on with Disney properties. So I don't know yet. Maybe I feel like it's going to be a little touch of a deal with the devil type of thing, in order to get these properties. But we'll see. Again, Disney is basically eliminating a huge portion of competition from its own channels like ABC and whatever else. So this isn't an insignificant move. It's not an uncalculated move for sure. We talk about the superhero franchises, but there's a lot more to this than we realize. So
while there is definitely a lot more, I'm pretty sure X-Men, not X-Men, Marvel is just they're elated. They're
Yeah.
probably excited. Like, oh my god, we finally get to do X-Men.
But if you have people like Rupert Murdoch dictating
Dictating
how your movies are released and the paths they take and what characters are and aren't allowed to do and appear in,
Yeah,
you might have some issues there. We'll see.
We'll see.
My
Fingers crossed.
My fears could be completely unfounded, but I'm tentative on this. Quote, "We are extremely proud of all that we have built at 21st Century Fox, and I firmly believe that this combination with Disney will unlock even more value for shareholders as the new Disney continues to set pace in what is an exciting and dynamic industry," said Rupert Murdoch, 21st Century Fox's executive chairman. "Furthermore, I'm convinced that this combination under Bob Iger's leadership will be one of the greatest companies in the world. I'm grateful and encouraged that Bob has agreed to stay on and is committed to succeeding with a combined team that is second to none." End quote. No mention has been made of Fox's minority stake in Boom Studios, who would ultimately own that small portion with the deal. To elaborate on this, I'll talk about it later. There's a lot of information to digest. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of ins, a lot of outs.
Under the terms of this acquisition deal, currently 21st Century Fox shareholders will receive 0.2745 Disney shares for each Fox share they hold, subject to adjustment for certain tax liabilities. Always got to have a tax law right out. But
of course,
to give perspective, Disney stock much more valuable than Fox stock, so that it's not a one-to-one deal for that reason. They're still making a huge profit on it, hence the $52 billion. So
right.
That will result in approximately 515 million new shares of Disney stock issued to Fox's shareholders, representing a 25% stake in the Walt Disney Company. So you're going to have people from this Fox Rupert Murdoch world owning a quarter of the stake in Walt Disney. That is terrifying to me as a fan.
It would be more terrifying to me if it was like maybe 40%.
You say that, but all the other percentages are spread out across a lot of properties and a lot of people.
That's very true. That is very true.
A quarter of the stock. That's a lot for any group of individuals or organization that isn't the original family or owner,
Here's my big question. Gotham.
We'll see.
Yeah, that is like how
I think
that was on Fox.
I think Gotham still stays because Fox Network is still included. So I think the Fox shows, including Gotham, will probably be untouched because I think it's still under Rupert Murdoch's control.
Now, can we technically call that Disney's Batman?
Yeah, I don't know about that one, but yeah, I think that still stays with the Fox proper group or whatever they rebrand as. So
yeah,
the boards of both companies have approved the transaction, with plans to present it for approval to its shareholders later this year. If stockholders approve, it would then go before the government regulators, which is expected to take as long as 18 months. So this is a big deal. Comic books aside, yes, we get the great benefit of being able to have these universes back together where they're supposed to, but this is a huge media company basically fusing. And fusion,
Dragon Ball reference.
Fusing and just devouring the media market. There's not a whole lot left to compete with them, which is why there's going to be issues with antitrust laws and monopoly laws. You have Universal Studios, MGM maybe. There's not a lot out there that can really compete. You have Netflix to an extent, these, and I don't think Netflix is gonna last that much longer.
Right, and I think the thing that we can probably expect, especially with Disney seeking out an answer to the streaming service, is that this is going to be in a fight for the internet eyeballs. I could see Disney just spreading its fingers even further.
Yeah, it's a good point. It could very much be a direct, strike to try to get rid of streaming competition like Hulu versus Netflix, and like the proprietary Disney app having competitors on other stations, and
Yeah.
I can totally see that. But I think Google is just such a big company. I think we're going to eventually get to a point where there's about 3 or 4 major media companies, both internet and every other form of media, and that's about it. You're gonna have Grandpa Disney, you're gonna have Grandpa Google, and you're gonna have Grandpa Amazon, and those are your big 3. They're gonna own everything, in some way, shape, or form.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very excited to see what happens with X-Men and all these other properties, but I'm a little afraid of what this means for the media, and for one thing we don't take into account oftentimes is how much power these companies hold in the kind of public conversation and the kind of public persuasion, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. I give Fox a lot of credit because they tested the waters with things like Logan and Deadpool, and they had good results, and I think those types of risk-taking behaviors will probably help the greater property and brand now holding a 25% stake at Disney in the long run, assuming this all goes through as planned. But I'm also afraid that there's going to be too many, cooks in the kitchen all trying to spice things up their own way, and there's too many controlling hands, too many powerful controlling hands, I should say, that can all dictate what messages we want to send, what cultural norms we want to challenge, and which ones we want to reinforce, and so on.
Yeah. I could see from that Disney in its own way, and vicariously Fox through Disney, controlling those conversations, or at least making an attempt.
Yeah, and I don't know if that the solution is through regulation in the form of antitrust and anti-monopoly laws, because to the strictest code of the book, there's a lot of competition out there.
Yeah.
It's just the competition that is there is far smaller.
They've had far less success.
Has a very big uphill battle, Maybe these properties, maybe Star Wars and superheroes and all these other properties, Harry Potter and, on Warner Bros. Side, maybe these things will get old and these companies will have to attack something new to try to stay relevant and stay profitable or whatever. But I doubt it. These properties are probably going to hold significant value going forward and far into the future. So,
yeah.
And I think there's a lot of responsibility and a lot of power there that, we might want to take into account when we're celebrating these deals,
All of this
Not to quote a terrible Star Wars movie, this is how democracy ends, with applause, thunderous applause or whatever,
you quoted the prequels.
But, yeah. Do you feel more optimistic, or do you have the same fears as I do?
Honestly, I'm kind of in between, because I have a lot of optimism for all of the properties that I have wanted them to purchase, but at the same time seeing the ramifications of their full extent of purchasing the studio 21st Century Fox. It's much more far-reaching than I think anyone originally thought.
Yeah.
And
I think people are very much viewing this as the Marvel Fantastic Four purchase and celebrating,
Yeah,
there's
let's
so
get
much more
X-Men,
to it.
let's get Fantastic Four,
Yeah.
let's get all these other properties that belong under one roof. And then, we forget about things like Simpsons. We forget about things like Avatar. Trying to forget about Avatar.
Not a bad movie, just not a movie that warrants 6 sequels.
Yeah, no. There's we don't need to Terminator the shit out of
Hundreds
that.
of millions of dollars in budget. Go to WB for that nonsense.
We'll treat it like Terminator.
You want CGI drenched $100 million movies? You go to WB.
Where it'll all still be in the dark.
Nighttime alien Pocahontas in CG.
No. No.
I love you, James Cameron, but please stop doing this.
Quit it. Quit it. Just do something small.
Like
And-
Terminator 2. Again.
Please.
With
But-
old Governator.
Now, but again, at the core of this, everyone really wants this to come out just as a deal where everyone benefits. And that's what I want. I want for everyone to benefit from this.
Yeah.
But it can very easily turn into plans of domination.
Yeah. Both, economic and cultural,
Yeah.
whether we like it or not. They might not see it that way. They may see it as more, just a money move or whatever.
Right.
Racing competition. But I think some of the side effects could be, the cultural representation you're not comfortable with, or something that might be detrimental to the market as a whole.
Yeah.
And both economically and culturally. Now, again, I'm a pessimistic type of dude when it comes to these big deals. So I'm very hopeful that this works out well, like you said, for everybody. And it's just, a move that proves beneficial, and the quality improves for everybody, and the organization improves together. And, they equalize a little bit, they counterbalance each other a little bit.
Yeah.
And we get a nice, cool product that we can all be happy with and proud of. And,
It's like it worked for buying out Marvel. It so far has kind of worked for buying out Star Wars. I'm hoping that with Fox, things will just be more of we're here to buy it so that we can keep it going and maybe course correct some of this.
yeah.
Which, that's what I want. That is all that I've wanted, is for there to be a course correction, with X-Men being the chief title among that, but there are plenty of other titles that could definitely do with a reworking, as it were.
Absolutely. Next up in the news, Jeff Johns and Gary Frank's new book, Doomsday Clock #1, was the best-selling comic book and second best-selling comic book, I'll explain that in a second, of November. DC dominated sales with the first 7 best-selling comics all going to DC, and 8 of the top 10 best-selling comics last month going to DC. And now, let's elaborate on these numbers. Where is it at? There we go. All right. Here's your list of top 10 selling comics for the month of November. Number 1, Doomsday Clock #1. Second one, Doomsday Clock number 1, Lenticular Edition, which is a variant, which is the stupid one that transitions with your eyes.
Right.
So that's how Doomsday Clock #1 sold the best in 2 different issues. And that's pretty impressive, because the 2 separate versions of the same issue sold more than everything else.
Right. That's peculiar, to say the least.
The third best-selling was The Batman Who Laughs #1, which is part of the Metal event, which I have no interest in right now.
I've actually heard that particular one isn't bad.
Yeah, some people went into it on a group I was talking to, and it sounds like it's cool, but
Just
the surrounding
premise.
circumstances is what makes it. Ugh.
Yeah.
4 was Batman Lost #1, which I thought about picking up, but I looked through it and it didn't really pique my interest. Number 5 was Batman #35.
Oh, my
Number
God.
6 was Batman #34.
Oh, come on.
Are you noticing a trend here? Number 7 was Batman the Devastator #1, which is, again, part of the Dark Knight Metal storyline.
It's a whole lot of Batman going on here.
Yeah. Number 8 was Captain America #695. Surprisingly, I would never expect a Captain America to be the top 10 selling book, but
Yeah.
not only the top book for your entire company.
Yeah, my God.
Number 9, Batman Annual number 2.
I swear to God.
which was a cover of the week,
It was.
and the content did match the drapes.
It was
in
well done.
a very cute but predictable fashion.
Yeah.
And then at number 10, we have Star Wars number 38. So not even a Marvel proper book. It's a Star Wars
like
book.
Marvel had a Captain
Marvel
America.
had one. Captain America? Really?
It's like out of nowhere.
And then
Captain
Star
America
Wars?
number 695. My God.
Now, if you look at this trend, though, Doomsday Clock 1 and 2, Batman Who Laughs, Batman Lost, Batman number 35, Batman number 34, Batman the Devastator, Batman Annual.
Bat Manual?
Those are all of the DC books. So you have the Watchmen thing, and then you have a ton of Batman.
Oh my
So-
God.
If you didn't know what sold, now you remember.
I wonder why DC keeps going all in on Batman. I wonder.
There have been marked shrinkages in the sales from the November of last year, November of 2016. The drop-off is around an average of 9% for everybody. But you got to remember this time last year, we were going through big new world building stuff with Secret Wars for Marvel and
Right.
Rebirth for DC, or at least on the tail end of it. So it's a significant difference, but there is a lot to be happy with, and that's particular how even DC and Marvel comics are right now. So there's no one arm ruling the whole market. There is good competition going, and Image Comics bringing up the rear with about 8% of the sales in the market, and then you have IDW and Dynamite, Dark Horse, Boom Studios, all fighting around the 3 to 4% area of the market, sales in the market.
Yeah.
And we need to get those numbers up because Image is awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my God.
So that's your sales statistics for people that enjoy that sort of thing. And once again, no surprise, Batman dominates sales because that's what Batman does.
Because he's Batman.
Because he's Batman. Next up, we alluded to this a little bit with our discussion of the buyout, but Boom Studios has a small portion of Fox ownership, and part of the Fox ownership deal is that Fox got first dibs on any kind of properties going to media, like movies, TV, streaming, whatever. So now that Disney is purchasing this deal, this would probably mean in the future Disney will get first dibs on any kind of media content from Boom Studios, which has several great comics. We've talked about them. We had a few as covers of the week and stuff. So Boom Studios is not the biggest comic company, but definitely a really beloved, independent, sort of owned family type deal,
I think they're growing.
They're growing, slowly. I think they're around 2% of market sales, so not huge, but they have a significant impact, and it's interesting. But I'm a little afraid that this means that Marvel Comics is just gonna
Absorb.
eat
Boom.
up
Yeah.
another group of independent comics, which
Kinda
I
like
mean,
with DC and Vertigo.
yeah. If you're familiar with comic books at all, these things happen. It always happens. Has always happened. That's how DC Comics bought Action Comics and Detective Comics and all these different things that come together.
It's kind of a nature of the business.
Yeah. So we'll see where this goes. But as a fan of some Boom books, I kind of hope it remains a minority interest and Boom still gets to run the way Boom wants to run.
Yeah.
But that's just me. And again, another one of the many fleeting fears that are included in this huge deal, this $60-something billion deal here. Next up, in response to the announced purchase, members of the Senate's antitrust committees are looking into the Fox Disney sale for approval, citing anti-monopoly laws. I'll give you some specific details here. Top members of the House and Senate subcommittees have called for an investigation into Disney's proposed buyout of 20th Century Fox, citing anti-monopoly laws, according to Variety. Ranking Senate Antitrust Committee subcommittee member, Senator Amy Klobuchar. Klobuchar. Hopefully I pronounced that right. From Minnesota, and Ranking House Antitrust Subcommittee member Representative David Cicilline have asked their respective committees to conduct an investigation, and Cicilline from Rhode Island, to conduct an investigation into the proposed deal. Klobuchar, such a weird name. Klobuchar called the buyout another industry-changing merger, which would have major implications in television, film, media, and saying, "I'm concerned about the impact of this transaction on American consumers," end quote. Quote, Disney's proposed purchase of 20th Century Fox threatens to put control of TV, movie, news, and content into the hands of a single media giant, said Cicilline. If it's approved, this merger could allow Disney to limit what consumers can watch and increase their cable bills. Disney will gain more than 300 channels, 22 regional sports networks, control over Hulu, and a significant portion of Roku, another streaming service. End quote. The deal was struck Thursday, so there's even stuff that we don't realize that have significant impacts on this market.
More and more of this comes to light.
The deal was struck Thursday with Disney agreeing to buy Fox's assets for $52.4 billion, plus $13 billion worth of debt.
Yep.
With a separate guarantee for each party should the buyout be blocked. So, for those unfamiliar with the United States of America's politics and our laws, in the early 1900s into the 50s, we've had various antitrust, anti-monopoly laws, anti-pooling laws, because in the late 1800s, during the Industrial Revolution, at the peak of it, many of these companies were basically getting super powerful, and then they would either buy the smaller competing companies or they would just ruin them. They would do strategic things to undercut them as much as they could, and just because their coffers were so much larger, outlast them until they all died.
Yeah.
And in some instances, a more criminal nature where they sent, thugs to go and fucking break up their offices and set their factories on fire and whatever else.
Yeah, some like gangland type shit.
As much as many people want to believe that America is a free market capitalism and that's why it's so successful, we are not. In fact, free market capitalism brought about, the Great Depression. So
yeah,
there had to be regulatory statutes that initiated in the late 1800s into the 1900s and onward. So we have these regulation committees. Sometimes they don't do what they're supposed to, but sometimes they do, and sometimes they do a little more than they're supposed to.
Yeah.
So there's arguments on all sides, but generally we have a system in place where we try to prevent companies from pooling their monies together to destroy smaller competing industries or businesses or whatever, and so they can essentially jack the prices of everything they want to a profit margin they want,
Right.
And of course there's always limits of demand, and that's what kind of the more anarchistic libertarians might argue, but in reality it's not how it works in practice. And it's just like pure socialism doesn't work, it's pure capitalism doesn't work either.
Yeah.
There has to be
a mix between the two.
Yeah, there has to be some kind of regulatory influence in either side. And there has to be counterbalances, and this is just another example. Personally, I think the sale will probably go through, and the reason I think that is because we have specific people in power that are probably more business friendly, so they're going to allow the bigger businesses, not the smaller businesses, to gain the advantage here.
Yeah.
Most likely, or at the very least vocally support it and put their weight behind it. And then on the other side of the coin, there are still many competitors in the market that you can point to. You can point to Universal Studios and say, hey, they're still around. You can point to NBC and say, hey, they're still around.
Paramount,
yeah. So there's still competitors in the market. There's, other streaming devices and apps, Netflix, for example. There's Amazon Prime and Amazon's influence, and then Google's influence with YouTube, and there's Twitch out there, and so there are technically other competitors, but remember the law is designed to prevent companies from growing so large that they can just undercut the other companies and destroy them by pulling their money together and waiting it out.
Yeah.
Which is what Amazon has been kind of doing for a while and getting away with it. So it's something to think about. I'm not an economist, so I can't tell you what's right, what's wrong, but I suspect that based on the current regime in power and the current majorities in Congress and stuff, that most likely the business side of things will go through. They might have to make some small adjustments with the committee's review and everything, but I think overall it's probably going to go through, and it's probably going to be fine. But it's a lot to think about, for our media and our entertainment and the impact it has on our overall cultural and marketplace. So
Yeah.
don't take these things lightly. It's great that we get to see the things we've wanted to see for so long, but they didn't take the Sony approach of just, getting the rights back temporarily or paying some money or whatever else. They bought the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
and
This
just,
is a very bold move.
and they said, "Hey, you want to own some of Disney? Come on in. In exchange, we'll take all of this."
Is like
Thank you.
we're gonna work out this whole thing, and everyone's gonna love it.
Yeah. So
At least that's the hope.
again, hoping everything works out great. Hopefully, I'm completely wrong to worry about these things, but I'm glad that there's something in place to at least review it and check it out. And
Yeah.
you know how bureaucracy is. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it takes way too long. Sometimes it doesn't take long enough.
Right.
To consider things. So we'll see how it goes. Let us know what you think in the comments, please. I would love to hear what people think out there. Next up on the news, we have received our first images of Hawk and Dove for the DC streaming app, which will probably die. Show Titans. Hawk will be played by Alan Ritchson, and Dove will be played by Minka Kelly. So these are very lesser-known superheroes in the DC universe. They are two characters that essentially have powers like super speed, super strength.
The
and each one
powers
has-
that they hand out like candy.
Yeah, they have generic superpowers, and they vary based on the universe and based on the writer and stuff.
Yeah.
And generally, they're people that sometimes it's like a spirit takes over their body and they become the hawk and the dove or whatever else. Honestly, I thought they were some of the lamest fucking superheroes in all of comics, and that includes like the prior kind of goofy Mr. Miracle and stuff like that.
Yeah.
These characters I couldn't give a shit about, but I will say their costumes look pretty decent, like the Robin costume we saw previously.
Yeah. While they look legit, I think it's the concept in and of itself.
The concept is really dumb.
Yeah.
But that's just something you're never going to get away from unless you just choose not to use them, which I think they should have done. I don't think, of all the people you could possibly put in Titans, why Hawk and Dove?
Yeah.
They're not even teenagers in the comics.
Unless we're looking at like support characters that show up like every once in a while, but
Yeah.
I think they're signed for like every episode.
Titans is scheduled for its premiere on DC's proprietary streaming app in 2018. So there you have it. We'll see what happens. Again, I think the costumes look cool, and if the writing's good, you can probably make them work. But if the concept's goofy, and it's going to be really hard to do that,
Yeah.
And of all the things they could have revealed after Robin, they
chose Hawk and
chose
Dove.
Hawk and Dove.
Are we keeping
they
to a
had-
bird theme?
They had nothing better to offer. I don't
Could
know.
we maybe see like some kind of concept art for Beast Boy? Since we have him cast.
Beast Boy, Starfire,
Fire, yeah.
Cyborg. I don't know.
We're probably not using Cyborg.
You better use Cyborg, you fucks. Jeez.
Nah, Cyborg's playing it with the big boys now.
Yeah, those universes don't exist together. We know it. They know it. We all know it.
We all know it.
Next up on the news, the new age of DC heroes, which is kind of a big advertising shtick that DC is doing with its, in coordination with its new redesign, where they're introducing a bunch of brand new characters. Something we've been talking about. And of course,
Yeah.
there's diverse characters in there. Something we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Good job, DC. You're not doing the lazy way and rebranding old characters. You're creating new ones.
Hooray!
Uh,
Again, it's like I said before, I don't want to discourage them from doing new things. This is the one new thing, or the thing that would be new, that I want to encourage them to do more.
Yes, instead of making, say, hypothetically, black lesbian Wonder Woman, you're making a new character.
Yes. A new
is
character
wonderful.
where you have the freedom to create a new backstory and new powers
Yep.
and something that isn't tied to something that's already
Maybe not
there.
call each other Hawkeye.
It still hurts.
Yeah. So this is great. The initiative starts next month, and some of the January issues. The biggest one that's been shown so far is a character called the Silencer, which is a book about a female former assassin who used to work for Leviathan, which is, if you're familiar with the Batman Inc. stuff. I hated Batman Inc. It's basically an assassination group that's kind of born out of Talia al Ghul being at odds with her father and other things. So,
Right.
so she is a former assassin, and it's explained in the description that the reason we've never seen or heard of her before is because she's good at her job, which makes sense.
Yes.
Unlike Grayson.
Okay. Enough about Grayson.
He fucks. This is a book about a former assassin who got out of the game and is trying to live a normal life and try to make a family and whatever else. But of course, the first issue, apparently, the description says she gets dragged back into it by Talia al Ghul, and because they need her to do some kind of hit job that only she can do for whatever reason. So,
It's
or
pretty,
at least they only trust her to do.
yeah, that's pretty standard, like secret agent, former assassin affair. There are plenty of movies about things like that.
Yeah. So I think this is
Yeah.
cool. They could have done the easy way and just changed Deathstroke to, his daughter or whatever, and just sent him along.
Yeah, or
But they created a brand new character, so we can get to know and learn about a brand new character, which is always good.
yeah, and thankfully something that isn't another Batman title.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to what comes next. Next up on the news, James Franco is in talks to be Multiple Man in an X-Men spin-off movie from 21st Century Fox. Now, of course, all this stuff is a little bit in the air because of the acquisition. We don't know what's going on with the X-Men universe. And again, this deal may take up to 18 months to be approved and verified and all this other stuff. So we'll see. James Franco's the big name right now because of Disaster Artist and all these things. And because of
What a
how
story, Chris.
he can morph into other characters. Oh, hi, Mark.
Go see that movie.
So we're going to have him possibly playing Multiple Man, and it seems like they're going for a more R-rated type of movie. I'm not really familiar with Multiple Man, so you'd have to enlighten me a little.
Multiple Man is, depending on which universe, the universe that matters, the 616 Marvel, Multiple Man has been, I think he started out as kind of a side villain, but in iterations after like his first appearance, he showed up as a member of X Factor, which included him, Havoc, Polaris, Strong Guy, and I think Wolfsbane. He then got to be the leader of that group after he turned that name into the name of a detective agency, in which he might have been every detective.
Because why not?
Yeah, it's like if you can make more of yourself, why not handle every angle of the situation?
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, this is an actor's wet dream. Oh my God. Is like, if there is one thing that actors love to do, it's to show their range. And
Or at least attempt to do.
attempt.
Yeah.
Yes, at the very least. But I trust James Franco with this one. It's like I wasn't sure of how well he was going to do in The Disaster Artist, but after seeing this movie, remembering him from a previous Marvel title, Spider-Man, and seeing him in several other things like Pineapple Express, I think there's a movie where he got to play the role of James Dean in a biopic, among other things. I trust him with this one. But you know what's going to happen, like at the very beginning of this movie. Everyone, because of him being in The Disaster Artist, is going to make some kind of The Room joke.
Absolutely.
And I'm looking forward to it.
I did not hit her. I did not. And then the other morph guy is going to come in. I hit her.
Is like, imagine Jamie saying, like, I did not hit her. It is not true. It is bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not.
I did not.
Oh, hi, me.
Oh, we're so dumb.
Yep.
Why does anybody watch us?
Because we're great.
Because we're great, obviously.
Of course.
And last up on the news, obviously, Star Wars is out. You've seen it.
I have.
I have not. I'm going to see it with my brother on Christmas, and then we're going to do a review. Now, to those of you out there saying, now, Chris, you motherfucker, this is a comic book podcast. You should not be doing a review of Star Wars. It wasn't a comic book originally. Motherfucker, you know how many times I have to read your goofy fucking nerd titles on the new releases every week? If I have to read 18 Star Wars books every week, then I get to review the Star Wars movie, okay? That's the deal. That's fair, okay? So look forward to that eventually after Christmas.
Yeah, to break that down a little bit, long story short, they didn't start out at comics, but they have comics now.
And a lot of them.
Yeah.
As you saw, the 10th best-selling comic was Marvel's Star Wars.
Yeah. So with that, we do what we want.
But there seems to be I've avoided it at all costs because I don't want anything being spoiled for me. I'm not like the hugest Star Wars fan, but I do like it a lot, you know. But it seems like some fans are really upset with how they handled it, and some fans really like it, and some fans are like, I don't know what the issue is. Where do you fall on this?
Another one. This is my response to watching this one. It like someone posted to DJ Khaled on Twitter. Hey, DJ Khaled, what do you think of your new album that you just released? His response, another one. As in, you know, at the end of the day, if you're into him and you've already bought into like what he does, you're going to keep buying into it. If you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to keep watching Star Wars. And I'm going to say, like, this is like the only thing to tell you any of how this goes down. It's a Star Wars movie. To some extent, you kind of already know what's going to happen.
So, space opera.
Lightsaber
with
battles.
Wizard magic.
Yeah, these are, I would say, intergalactic space wizards, but they're only in the one galaxy. Cut that. Fix it in post.
Hit the tongue twisters.
I
I might keep it now. Just so I can replay that.
You bastard. Yeah, it's another Star Wars movie. It's like, good, bad. You see those two sides fight. That's it. You can talk about the intricacies all you want, but at the end of the day, it's it's another Star Wars movie.
Which means it's probably going to be good,
It's going to be good.
I would expect.
There's going to be some things that you might take issue with, like from the prequel trilogy, everything having to do with Anakin Skywalker. From the original trilogy, trying not to cringe every time you see Leia kissing Luke. With this one, it's hoping that they don't screw things up.
Yeah. I have one tiny fear, and again, I'm not the huge Star Wars fan, which is why I make fun of you nerds every time I read your books. But I hated the third original movie. I think it was Return of the Jedi, if I'm not wrong. Because of the whole Ewok thing. The Ewoks defeating the Imperial Army and just like with logs and sticks, it's just like mini teddy bears running around the woods killing all these elite soldiers and stuff. It's so stupid to me. I hated it. And it was only done for toys. It was explicitly done for toys.
Oh, of course.
It's basically the whole second half of the movie revolves around these Ewoks, whether you want them to or not. Even the end scene when they're at the party celebrating, it's the fucking Ewok camp. You're celebrating with all these fucking teddy bear things. It's just stupid.
And you're going to love porgs.
Well, that's what I saw the stupid porg thing in the advertisement. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, it's a porg. Like, how do you know that? Like, I've never fucking seen these things before. What the fuck is a porg? And I have a very strong fear that this is going to be another toy grab, and it's going to ruin a significant portion of the movie. Hopefully, completely unfounded. It's like a one little thing that's just in it and is like fine, but I feel like that's going to be what porgs are.
Fun fact, I actually completely forget whether or not the name of that species is ever actually mentioned in the movie.
Really? So it's just in the marketing. Hey, this is a porg. Buy it. Buy the toy.
You like the little cute thing?
Here's a plushie.
Yeah, buy that shit. Thank
Here's
you,
a Funko
Star
Pop.
Wars.
Here's a porg Funko Pop. Buy 600 of them. So we'll see. Look forward to that review. It'll be after Christmas. I don't know if it'll be before New Year's. Hopefully we can get it out that quick, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll want to discuss it. And that, my friends, is the news for this week.
All right, so we come to this time again where I get to ask you the age-old question. Chris, what books are we hitting up this week?
Emery, I thought you'd never ask. First up on our weekly release list. Remember, we always get these from freshcomics.us. They're a great resource if you want to see what's just come out, what came out last week, what's coming out next week. Definitely check them out. There's a link to them on our website, www.htbvids.com. And there's a big button that leads you to the new releases, and it goes straight to freshcomics.us. So definitely use that resource if you're interested. First up from Marvel Comics, there's a lot of great covers this week, and we had a hard time choosing the cover and variant covers of the week.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of releases and there's a lot of good looking covers.
Yeah,
so,
this particular week is very stacked.
Just want to say that before we get into it, because this is going to take a second or two.
Yeah.
And it's also going to be worth it to look at some of these covers, because not all of them could win the prestigious Nay Life-Changing Award.
Yeah, so strap yourselves in.
From Marvel Comics, we have America, number 10. We have Champions, number 15. We have Deadpool versus Old Man Logan, number 3. Boy, does this cover, give me the heebie-jeebies a little bit. We have Doctor Strange, number 383. We have Generation X, number 85. We have Guardians of the Galaxy, number 149. We have Luke Cage, number 168. We have Marvel 2-in-1, number 1. We have Monsters Unleashed, number 9. We have Miss Marvel, number 25. We have Old Man Logan, number 32. Pretty cool cover. We have Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, number 298. We have Powers number 9. Now, I don't know if this is a Marvel comic or if it's just listed this way, but
Yeah,
know.
the big contention that I have with that is that it is Powers is a Bendis title.
yeah,
Whether or not that's
maybe it
being
just got listed that way because of it.
probably.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just like completely ignorant and I don't. I always thought Powers was a totally different company, but interesting. It's
Yeah.
listed there. Next up, we have Spider-Gwen, number 27. Cool cover, but I feel like if I look at it too long, it's going to give me like an epileptic seizure or something.
Yeah.
It's very,
It-
very
That's a light show. It's
in your
it's
face.
weird.
Yeah. And next up, one of you fucking nerd titles, Star Wars Dr. Aphra, number 15. Now, spoiler alert, this comic did not win cover of the week, but it's a really, really solid, really, really good cover. And I was very tempted to give this nerd comic the cover of the week because it is really good. It's really good artwork, and it looks great.
Despite its horrendous title.
I feel like it should be a movie cover itself, even if the Aphra or ape, it's probably pronounced something stupid like Apra with an emphasis on the H.
Oh my god.
Apra. I don't
I
know.
swear to God, it
Somebody
better not
tell
be.
me how to pronounce it so I can make fun of you more. Just kidding. Next up, we have Star Wars Poe Dameron, number 22. Oh, but Star Wars isn't from a comic book. You can't review that. Fuck you. I have to read these stupid things every week.
Yeah. Pot, meat, kettle.
We have Tales of Suspense, number 100. Pretty interesting.
And also kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah. The Defenders, number 8. The Incredible Hulk, number 711. Get me a Slurpee. We have The Mighty Thor, number 702. Cool looking cover. Not sure I like what's going on in the picture, though. Uncanny Avengers, number 30. Another great cover. Venom, number 159. We have X-Men Gold, number 18. Another cool, if not kind of saucy cover.
For all you Nightcrawler fans out there.
You into bondage? Nightcrawler is. And then X-Men Grand Design, number 1. From DC Comics, we have Aquaman, number 31. Now, the regular cover, very cool looking. Did not win the competition this week. Another really cool cover. But the variant cover for this Aquaman book, I hate you. I gotta look at who you are.
Oh my
so
God.
I can call you out. Do you want Aquaman to be lame again? Because this is how you make Aquaman lame again. In this variant cover by Joshua Middleton, he has Aquaman holding on to a dolphin as it pulls him across the top of the water.
It's like
Do you want Aquaman to be lame again? This is how you make Aquaman lame again. Do not return to the pre-New 52 nonsense that was going on with Aquaman.
yeah, this is the type of thing that, like, when I saw it, I immediately thought of, like, Baywatch, but in, like, a I will never take this seriously type of way. It's like, it's some, like, big bearded asshole just trying to look way too majestic holding on to
Mounting
the
a dolphin. Ugh. I also don't appreciate you combining a great classic game, Echo, with the worst game of all time in Aquaman.
Oh.
All right? All right?
Oh, I forgot about
All right?
that.
All right?
Aquaman had a game.
Aquaman should not be molesting Echo the dolphin right now. Okay?
Oh.
You hear me, DC?
Yeah, you quit it.
This Middleton guy, you better keep him off your books with anything that has to do with Aquaman.
Rein him in. Like, put him on something else. My God. Not allowed to touch Aquaman again after this.
Next up, we have Batman number 37. Couples date. We have Batman Cross Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 2. Number 2. It's the second one.
Just Volume 2, Issue 2.
We have Batwoman number 10 with another cool cover. We have Bombshells United number 8. We have Dark Knights Metal number 4. We have Future Quest Showcase number 5. Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Hey.
We need a Brack book.
Come on, do it.
We have Green Lanterns number 37. We have Harley Quinn number 33. We have Injustice 2 number 16. We have Justice League number 35. We have, I gotta say something. These Justice League covers recently have been really bad. Like, really bad. I don't know what's going on, but they're just awful. And
Yeah.
that's not what you expect from one of your flagship titles,
Yeah.
especially a team book like that. I don't know.
And Justice League is just not getting any love right now.
Yeah. Next up, we have Mad Magazine number 549. We have Nightwing number 35. We have Super Sons number 11. We have Superman number 37. We have Teen Titans Go number 25. We have The Wildstorm number 10. Read this book because Grifter's awesome.
If for that character alone.
I love Grifter. He's so cool. We have Trinity number 16, which has a pretty decent cover and a really cool variant cover. We have Wonder Woman Cross Conan number 4, and that wraps up DC Comics. From IDW, we have 30 Days of Night number 1, which has a cool cover. We have Assassinistas number 1. We have Haunted Horror number 31. We have Optimus Prime number 14. Orphan Black Deviations number 6. We have Rom and the Micronauts number 1. We have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 17. We have The Comic Book History of Comics, Comics for All number 1. Comics. Could be interesting. We have The Powerpuff Girls, The Bureau of Bad number 2. And somehow I feel like that's what Jesse Eisenberg's group is going to be called.
Potshots.
From Dynamite Entertainment, we have Betty Page number 6, because we always need 600 Betty Page variants. We have Centipede number 5. We have The Shadow number 5.
The Shadow Knows.
We have Vampirella number 9, because we need 600 Vampirella variants.
Of course.
And that wraps up Dynamite. From Image Comics, keep doing what you're doing. We love you.
Oh, yeah.
We have Angelic number 4. We have Copperhead number 17. We have Dark Fang number 2. I'm going to be picking it up. We read the first issue. I think we're both good and bad on it. I think I liked it a little bit more than you, but this cover looks really cool, and I'm interested in what they're going to try to do with that premise.
Yeah, second issue I think will tell me specifically whether or not to keep going.
Sure. We have Evolution number 2. We have Genius Cartel number 5. We have Horizon number 7. We have Invincible number 143. Great book. We have Redlands with a saucy cover number 5. We have Spread number 24. Ironically coming after the saucy cover. Not intended. We have The Family Trade number 3. We have The Realm number 4, and we have The Hard Place number 5. From Boom Studios, we have Adventure Time Comics number 18. We have Big Trouble in Little China, Old Man Jack number 4. We have Fence number 2. We have Kong on the Planet of the Apes number 2. We have Lazaretto number 4. We have Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 22. We have The Storyteller, Fairies number 1. And that wraps up Boom Studios. From Titan Books, we have Dr. Radar number 2. We have The Beautiful Death number 4, which has consistently had kind of interesting covers. I might have to pick that up. We also have The Wonderful World of Tank Girl number 2. And that wraps up Titan Books. From Dark Horse Comics, we have Angel, Season 11, number 12. We have Bank Shot, number 5. We have Empowered in Sista Spooky's High School Hell, number 1. Yes, spelled Sistah. Sista Spooky.
Oh my God. Okay.
We have Hellboy, Krampushunked, number 1. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but it sounded pretty legit.
Let's go with that.
And this one has a super cool cover. Again, such a strong week for covers. This one did not win, but it was deserving. So
Yeah.
if you're listening to this and you know the artist, please give him our thanks, or her, because these are great covers this week.
This is again Christmas coming early for us.
We have Joe Golem, Occult Detective, Flesh and Blood, number 1. We have Sherlock Frankenstein and the Legion of Evil, number 3. And finally, we have Tomb Raider, Survivor's Crusade, number 2. From Valiant, we have Ninjak. We have Ninjak, number 2. We have Quantum and Woody, number 1. And that wraps up Valiant. From Lion Forge Comics, we have Catalyst Prime XL, number 2. We have Summit, number 1. We have Wrapped Up, number 3. And that wraps up Lion Forge. From Archie Comics, we have Riverdale Digest, number 5. From Aftershock Comics, we have Dark Ark, number 4, and Unholy Grail, number 5. From Scout Comics, we have Infernoct, number 3. From Vault Comics, like I said, Reactor, number 2. Little out of order.
Only a little.
Last week was number 3, and we gave it our cover of the week. And this cover is, again, very cool looking.
Yeah.
No idea if the book's good, because the release, it's just weird.
Yeah. Hopefully
Unless
they
they're just
figure that out.
Individual books, and one got delayed or something. I don't know. From Oni Press, we have Made Men, number 4. And that is everything coming to your local comic book shops
Please support your local comic book shops.
and digital devices this week. Now it's time to hand out the prestigious, life-changing award of cover and variant cover of the week. Like I said, there's been a ton of great covers this week.
This is a hard decision.
Because
Yeah.
we've had some weeks that were just awful. Or at the very least, just disappointing. This week, we had so many great candidates, and we could only choose 2.
Yeah,
So.
and it's like going through a dry spell and then getting a flood the next day.
Yeah. For our cover of the week, we gave it to Marvel's Tales of Suspense, number 100. The cover drawn by Marco Cicchetto. I hope that's right. Checchetto. Cicchetto.
Sounds legit.
This book just had an awesome all-around feel to it. It kind of feels like the kind of Catch Me If You Can sort of style to it almost.
Yeah.
And then you mix that with some really good character art where the individual characters pop out really strong and look really good. Now, the picture we're seeing is without the Marvel logo and stuff on the top and the title over the top. I'm sure with the title and all that stuff, it's going to look a little less cool, but it looks great. It's really eye-popping. You have Hawkeye, you have Black Widow, and you have Winter Soldier on here making up the cover, so it's probably going to be some kind of espionage book or something, you know.
Which we need with these characters.
And for a book like Tales of Suspense, you would probably want some kind of intense
Oh, yeah.
espionage going on. So it just looks like a great cover. It looks really cool, and I think Marco here did a great job. Little Marco.
Oh, no. Don't bring him here.
Marco Cicchetto. You did a great job, and I hope to see more from you. I hope
Yeah.
win more awards on the show, because it is, as I said, life-changing.
Oh, yes.
Next up, our variant cover of the week goes to DC's Batman number 37 variant cover by Olivier Coipel. Now, this one is another just great cover. It features Batman and Catwoman in a kind of classic look. It has the kind of old style Catwoman suit, and by old I mean like 90s.
Yeah.
90s into early 2000s Catwoman suit, and then Batman is really the old style with the underwear on the outside and the gray suit and the kind of short cape.
It's a very classic look we're going
Yeah.
with.
And it's from an interesting perspective where you're down below them and they're both looking down at you from different positions. And
Yeah.
from a technical standpoint, the perspective is very impressive, but other than that, there isn't something that's like really super impressive from a very technical standpoint. But the interesting play with the colors, where there's kind of like a sepia tone almost in the background, kind of a tan tone.
Yeah.
And I gotta admit, I am a sucker for this new redesign, man. It really does. Like being able, just the simple addition of them being able to change the color of the little logo in the corner makes it so much better.
Yeah. It gives a very dynamic feel for this.
Yeah, and they're able to match the font of the print, and it looks great. DC, Jeff Johns, I give you a lot of crap for how much you hate Dick Grayson, but Jeff Johns, Dan Didio over there, you guys are doing a great job with this redesign, and I love how it looks. And it helped sell this variant cover to me even more so. So,
just another suggestion: take a page from Image and put the barcode on the back. That's all you need. The second you do that,
they already did it with several books. I don't understand why they don't do it with all the books.
Right.
There's no reason to put. Now you're just pissing off the comic shops because now they don't know if it's on the front or the back.
It's like, where do I scan this thing?
If they just put them on the back, so
Yeah,
the art can shine. There's no need to have the barcode on the front.
Yeah, just make it a uniform decision. This is where we're going to put things.
Yeah. Doomsday Clock, for example, put it on the back.
Yeah.
I believe Mr. Miracle, put it on the back.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. That's the one teeny tiny gripe, and if I have to live with the shrunken barcode, so be it. But I feel like you could do your artists a solid and put it on the back.
That would be the one thing that would just push it over the edge and just make them just that much better.
So once again, shout out to Marvel's Tales of Suspense number 100 cover by Marco Cicchetto, and DC's Batman number 37 variant cover by Olivier Coipel. Both were great, outstanding books, and a sea of great covers and artwork this week. So really, guys, great job. I hope to see you again on here.
And that those who didn't win, maybe take a cue or two from the ones that we picked.
Because you're losers. If you ain't first, you're last. Shake and bake.
That just happened.
But in all honesty, there were so many other great covers, and the difference between quality was marginal at best. And I'm sure if I went over it for another hour, I might choose something else.
Right.
It really was an extremely strong week, and I shouted out most of them when I was going through the list. So great job from all the comic companies this week. There's a ton of great covers.
Yeah. Again, when it came to covers, Christmas came early.
And for our new friends out there, this is the part of the show where we each discuss a topic of our choosing about the world of comic books. Emery, what is your topic?
My topic for tonight is going to be very timely. It's almost Christmas time, guys. Oh, man. We're going to be talking about the things that you could be getting for that comic book fan in your life.
So, Emery, what would you recommend?
Well, it kind of depends on the comic book fan. There are plenty of things out there like figurines. Some of them posable, some of them not.
If you're a fucking nerd.
Said the fucking nerd. Yeah, that's right. That's what you get.
Doyle rules.
There's figurines. There are comics, of course.
Mm-hmm.
There are any number of things, like if your comic book nerd is also a Star Wars fan, and they, for some reason, don't have a lightsaber, you can buy them a lightsaber. If they're
Be prepared to be hit with it several times,
yes, for sure.
especially with kids.
Especially with kids. There's also
Pro tip: get one that doesn't have the sound effect, because that's going to be in your nightmares for about a year.
Yeah, he's not kidding.
I don't understand why any parent buys their kid a toy that makes noise ever.
To strangely shut them up, only to realize that it's not
It gets worse.
it's not the child's voice that they have to deal with now. It's the child's toy that they paid for.
The little blasters that make noise, and oh man,
yeah,
it just doesn't go away.
yeah.
And then it gets stuck in the toy box or something eventually, and something adjusts or falls on the trigger or something, and all you hear is you can't find the damn toy, and it won't shut up.
Yeah, it's bad. It's so bad.
Yeah.
The other thing that you can get them is maybe a video game based on the comics or comic book character in question.
Yeah.
There's also, if you're feeling super generous, there are the busts, if you will. I mean, there are very finely sculpted busts of characters like Wolverine,
Bob.
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah. There's a plethora of things out there.
I'm personally offended that you had to discuss Wonder Woman's bust on our show.
Yeah, points off. The the feminist community is really going to come after me for this one.
Yep.
Yep.
You earned it.
Yep.
Yep. You brought that upon yourself.
Well, as we said before, we do what we want. Yeah. It's like if you can think of something that, especially another thing, if they're into collecting those glorified drink coasters, you can buy them a DVD.
I'm surprised DVDs are still as prolific out there as they are. I understand that Blu-rays are slightly more expensive and the quality isn't always that much better, but
it's like the Blu-rays have taken over.
it's like if cassette tapes were still just lingering around, Like, who's still buying these?
Yeah, it's kind of silly at this point.
Just to give some specific examples, if you have people that are super into reading the comics, or maybe just they like comics but they don't have the time to actually like participate in the kind of culture where they're constantly trying to keep up with single issues and stuff, maybe look out for some compendiums.
Yeah,
there's a lot of really good compendiums. Basically it's just a huge collection of books, usually like 50 issues in one book. There's the Walking Dead ones, which I think are the most popular out there. I see those all the time.
Yeah. They usually call those omnibuses.
Yeah, they can also be referred to as omnibuses. Omnibuses usually include the whole series, though.
Right.
Compendiums are usually like chapters, like significant portions.
Oh yeah.
There's the Walking Dead one. There's there's a few other really big ones out right now. I think the 4th Walking Dead one should be coming out before too long if it hasn't already. Just not hitting me in the head right now, but there's several compendiums you can get, which are really good values. They're a little expensive,
Yeah.
but taking into account that this is probably the equivalent of 50, 60, 70, $3 to $5 issues. Uh,
Yeah.
That's a significant discount for the amount of content you're getting. Now, of course, it's not necessarily going to retain or at least advance in value like a single issue might, but it will eventually be worth a little bit more than what its face value is, and you see that all the time. People buy back compendiums and omnibuses and large collections. You can also go out and collect a handful of volumes, especially if you want to get them a more recent one, because volumes typically are 6 to 12 issues of said comic. So if you want to get this year's run of some comic for your friend who's a fan of a specific character, you can get volume 1 and 2 and give it to them for Christmas and stuff. So definitely look out for those. I mean, there's obviously a ton of those, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, for Marvel. You got the X-Men Gold, X-Men Blue. I'm sure the first volumes are out for those, and just several other ones. Another thing you can look out for if you have kids, there's a ton of animated movies that are constantly released on Blu-ray. So get Blu-ray, don't get DVD. Come on.
Yeah.
Who uses DVDs anymore?
Yeah. It's about to be 2018, people. Get Blu-ray.
Get a Blu-ray.
Yeah.
But I'd say get some Blu-rays of these animated features. Just double check, because I know a few of them, usually the DC ones, but sometimes some of the Marvel ones, some of them can be a little mature. It's never like gratuitous, but there is a, like, even the most recent Bruce Timm one with Harley Quinn and Batman and Nightwing, there's a sexual encounter that I don't remember seeing nudity or anything, but it's suggested heavily, and if your kid, you don't feel comfortable with that, you probably shouldn't get them the Bruce Timm.
Yeah, that's one thing to take into account. Always check the rating on these animated features, because some of them not going to be kid friendly.
Yeah, some of them have a little bit of gore. Like I said, it's never like super gratuitous or something from my experience. I mean, there's a handful of Marvel ones that I can remember that were a little gratuitous because of Wolverine.
Yeah.
Basically clawing the shit out of people. But other than that, most of them are pretty safe for, say, older child to teenager, somewhere around there. And you can usually tell by the cover. If the cover looks super cartoony, it's probably more safe,
Yeah.
from a comic book world or something like that, So those are definitely great options. Video games, you could get if your friend or family member or whatever has played the first season of the Telltale Batman series.
Yeah.
Maybe get them the second one that came out this year. You could also get the first one if you like, or the Guardians of the Galaxy Telltale series. Those are always good, and you can even kind of have fun with them. It can be like a family event or a girlfriend-boyfriend event or whatever you choose. And you can, sit side by side and make the choices together and play through it together,
Yeah. Walking Dead has its own Telltale thing.
Yeah.
As well as the Wolf Among Us.
3 seasons of Walking Dead, 1 season of Wolf Among Us. I think the second one's on the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's tons of great video games that are not only, cool and interesting and fun from a narrative standpoint, but also, kind of fun if you have somebody doing it with you and helping you out. And then if you like fighting games, obviously Injustice 2.
Oh yeah. Injustice 2 being the big one.
Marvel vs. Capcom, the new one's on its way. So.
I will never be able to suggest that one. That one hurt me.
So there's a lot of big titles out there. Action figures, unfortunately, I feel like action figures don't really sell much anymore. Or if they do, they're like the giant,
yeah,
semi-life-size one.
They are kind of
a
thing of the past nowadays, unfortunately.
It's a little bit more about the posable statues and the mini figurines and Lego characters. Of course, if you have kids, Legos are always available. But again, it's another parental thing you'll have to worry about, stepping on them or, cleaning them up or finding them in every crevice of your apartment or house or car,
For those of you who don't want to deal with a Lego mess, Lego also has their own video games.
Yeah.
Specifically, in our case, Lego DC Superheroes and Lego Marvel Heroes.
Mm-hmm. And then there's Lego Batman 1 through 3, you know, if you want to be cheaper and get like the old stuff, and Marvel or not Marvel, but Lego Universe or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I forget. I don't really play them, but I know there's a game that has a ton of different universes, including like some of the superheroes. So always look out for those. Those things are always available. Clothes. It seems weird, but some of the best like superhero shirts and stuff I found were actually at Walmart. But who goes to Walmart anymore? But
Right.
it's surprisingly they had some really cool designs. I actually think I got this one there. I might be wrong, but I think I got this Flash shirt there. And you get them for like $9, $8.
Yeah.
So if you want some apparel, you can always go to Walmart. I think Target has some, but I think Target's shirts are really thin, and I've had bad experiences in the past with Target shirts. And then you can always go to the more expensive, JCPenney or Macy's or whatever, and I'm sure they have something somewhere. But generally, for stuff like this, you don't want to spend a ton of money on something super expensive. This this fits great, feels great, looks good. I like it. I don't know. And it cost me $9. So, definitely a lot of stuff out there in apparel. There's never a shortage of superhero merchandise, of course, comic merchandise. Some other things you could maybe invest, like gift a Netflix subscription to somebody for a year or something,
Yeah, so they can catch up on all that beautiful Marvel footage.
You can gift them a Comixology Unlimited app subscription.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't give you access to everything because a lot of the new stuff isn't on there, but it gives you a huge access to like a ton of backlog stuff, which I've been using to read Lock and Key, and I talk about all the time.
Yeah.
Which is a great series. I don't know. There's any number of things out there. It's hard to choose just a few.
Yeah. Yeah. And fortunately, it's Christmas. So if you're feeling especially generous, maybe get them a couple different things, spread it out a little bit.
Like, Batman shark repellent.
I think they have that. Yeah, this was the type of thing that I remember growing up as like, ooh, am I going to get a figurine this time? Like back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Or, ooh, am I going to get like the latest Marvel-related video game or like the newest Batman video game? Because any video game outside of Batman for DC,
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there. You could even go back to like the Arkham series, get the Arkham games for somebody who hasn't played them.
Yeah,
including the was the Christmas one. That was not
Arkham Origins.
Arkham Origins. It wasn't proper continuity, but it was still really good, really solid.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, there's so many options out there. You can always get the old movies, update them to Blu-ray if they got VHSs.
Yeah. 89 Batman. I'm looking at you.
And if they don't have a Blu-ray player or a game system that has a Blu-ray player in it, buy them one. I don't know. Bring them into the 21st century. I know everybody uses SD cards and streaming and pirates everything now, but it's nice to have like your favorite things like on Blu-ray.
Right. And, maybe want to peruse through some of the special features.
Yeah. See, I have a weird Christmas mantra where it's like progression, where as a really young kid, I wanted like the superhero action figures and maybe cards if they could get them or whatever, like those Marvel cards. And I had a handful of Batman figures that I really loved. And the one thing you can say about Schumacher's movies is they made great toys.
Yeah, they did.
Because they were very stylistic and they had a lot of gadgets and a lot of different outfits.
I'm not going to lie.
Although the movies were awful, but I had just about every variation of those outfits and action figures.
I played those video games.
Oh, no. Oh, Emery.
I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
It was a different time back then.
Yeah, I didn't play too many video games until I got to around like age, like 10, 11, 12, somewhere around there. Right around the time Halo got big. That's around the time that I started really getting into stuff and playing like the PlayStation Final Fantasies and stuff. And then I kind of went back. Like I had like the old systems, but like they just didn't really hold my interest very long.
Yeah.
I had the original Nintendo, and we had a Atari 2600 and like a Sega Genesis and stuff like that. But they just didn't hold my interest until I got older.
Veritably slumming it back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did like put a huge emphasis on my action figures and playing around with them or looking at the art on the cards and like trying to draw myself and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then as a teenager, it went almost strictly exclusively video games. Just always wanted a video game, and that's what I got. And I got like 2 video games a year because video games are fucking expensive. That's what I got, and I was happy with it.
Oh yeah.
And then when I got older, it kind of reversed a little bit where people started getting me like comic book T-shirts and comic book mugs and stuff like that because they knew I love that stuff, which is great. But yeah, it's a little weird. My Christmas
the weird progression how
and
like what you got for Christmas tended to change.
Yeah, and whereas before I kind of more. I would get, if I got a gift for somebody, I would get them something that I thought they would like. As a kid, you just get whatever shiny object or candle or whatever the case calls for, or cheap dollar store toy, whatever you can afford as a child. And you get them for people. And then when I got older, I would like just try to get whatever they asked for, And now as an adult, I kind of try to spread like what I really enjoy and that I think they'll like. So I get like a volume or something, or a few volumes of a comic I think they'll like, and so I get them that. So it changes from person to person. I don't do this for everybody, But,
right.
It's kind of weird how both sides of the coin have kind of evolved for me. I don't know. How about you?
Well, for me, it started with action figures, of course.
Yeah.
It then progressed to video games and comics, just more comics as time went on. It then, actually, I don't remember anyone actually getting me. Well, no, I take that back. There would be like times here and there when I'd get like a shirt or two that was comic related.
Yeah.
I think as time went on, I think I started to get myself more of those things, and I would be the ones trying to gift people things that I was interested in that I thought they might like.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, it's like this thing that I keep talking to you about. Here's a volume.
Because I know your lazy ass ain't going to pick it up. No.
Yeah, that would be the kind of thing that I'd do. But yeah, I think there has been sort of a progression where I'm less the person receiving these things and more the person like giving them out.
Yeah. Trying to spread the joy.
Oh yeah.
'Tis the season. Happy holidays.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. I think it's still going.
It's how many crazy
Jewish,
nights did they get?
Things.
Yeah.
Happy Kwanzaa if anybody still tries to do that. I feel like that lasted like 20 years and then disappeared.
And then Festivus for the rest of us.
Of course. Boom, ba-dum, boom, 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 boom. Got a lot of problems with you people. It's time for the airing of grievances.
Oh, Seinfeld, I miss you.
But yeah, can you think of any other big holiday items you might want to get somebody? I mean, obviously, there's the big Blu-rays for all the releases that have come out. I think Logan's out on Blu-ray right now. I think Deadpool's out on Blu-ray. Wonder Woman, BVS, the extended edition. If you need to waste 3 hours.
That's all I could think of.
Well, Emery, that brings up my topic.
Yeah.
Santa has decided you were a very good boy.
Hey.
And has decided to give you the gift you dreamed of. A comic book movie made by the people, the studio, and the actors you have always wanted. What director, what studio, and what actors are you using to make what comic book film?
Oh, my God. It's funny you bring this up. I actually saw a video just recently about the release details for the budget for the Gambit movie.
And
It's 3 times more expensive than what it cost to make Deadpool.
ooh, oh no,
I don't know how. I don't know why. 155 million.
it's all going into Channing Tatum's eyes.
I was going to say his cocaine stash, but you know, that's whatever. If it were me,
This isn't WB, okay?
whoa.
300
Whoa.
million? Sure. Whatever, man. Whoa. You almost damaged my pinky nail.
Yeah, your pinky nail. Oh boy. If it were me, specifically for that movie that I've always wanted to be released, I would have. Let's talk about the director first. And I would say Steven Soderbergh. Specifically because of his experience with, most recently, Logan Lucky, which was referred to as Ocean 7-Eleven, but also his experience with the Ocean trilogy. This guy knows a heist movie, which is exactly what the Gambit movie needs to be, and from what I've heard, that's what it's going to be. I don't know who's directing it, but I wish them the best of luck.
So what characters would you like to see in your Gambit movie? And who would you like to act?
Well, Mr. Sinister, played by Daniel Day-Lewis.
I could see it.
Yeah.
He's got the head shape for it.
Yeah, he does.
Put a big old diamond on that head.
We don't need that weird little, cape thing that looks like it's been torn to shreds.
the little, like,
Little
racks.
spindly
Yeah.
things. Yeah, which I'm not sure, but Hawk and Dove kind of look like they were sporting those.
Yeah. I don't know which one came first, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They both have them. And they look just as silly.
Yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis for that role. For the title character, I'm fine with Channing Tatum doing it.
Really?
I am because if
that
he
is an unexpected development.
now, mind you, that's because if the movie fails, then I never have to worry about hearing him wanting to do it again. And someone else can do it. And also, Fox has been bought by Marvel. Disney, specifically.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. They still got like a year and a half to run their course.
Yeah.
But Channing Tatum, let him finally do it so he can shut up about it. I'd want to see his character's father, Jean-Luc Lebeau, show up because this is an origin story-ish.
I'd rather see Jean-Luc Picard.
I don't know whether to throw a card at you or to throw a baguette or to throw the starship fucking Enterprise. There's not enough. There's
Set
not enough
course
French to go along.
for intercourse.
Mr. LaForge, take us to warp 2. Yeah. To play his father-ish, I would have. I want to say Viggo Mortensen.
Wow, bring him out. He hasn't been
Yeah.
in a movie for a while, I don't think.
Yeah, not in anything big.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be interesting.
I'd pull him out for that. For his future ex-wife. Belladonna. I would. Who would I use? I want to say. I'm not sure if she's still attached, but there's this but whoever that girl is.
We'll post a picture here.
Yeah. Whoever that girl is, I would have her play that role. And I think those are all the major characters mentioned.
So would you have Rogue? Or are you just going to skip over Rogue?
Rogue is for movie number 2.
Ooh.
Or potentially his debut movie for like when he finally joins the team.
Okay.
If they ever have him join the team, because he actually works very well by himself. Like he's basically Danny Ocean without any of the attachments. Basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be my whole thing. My only stipulation is that they go the Deadpool route and give him as close to a comic book accurate costume as possible. I don't give a goddamn what people think about his color scheme.
I don't know about the pink shirt. The big pink armored padded whatever. I don't know what it is.
I think I think
you could probably get away with the face mask thing, but
the face mask thing, sure. But if anyone's going to pull off that thing and make it go from looking ridiculous to looking any kind of sexy, which is what Gambit needs to be.
Are we doing the silver boots too?
We could do shin guards. It doesn't have to be like a whole like above the knee to like below the sole type deal. It could be an attachment to his like actual boots that he would be wearing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there is a way that character, like thematically in the comic book, was like sectioned off design wise and color wise that just it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And I want that back. And not just that, I want it updated well enough to where it's like to where we can explain it to where it makes sense.
Now here's the real question. Would you want him to have the black eyes with the purple pupils like in the comics, or would you want him to have normal eyes?
Technically, in the comics, it was black on red. And yes, I would do that.
See, I think it would be cool if he was in a support role, but for a lead role, I feel like that might be a little too far. I don't know.
Well, there are things that
Do you think it would work if there were like really obvious contacts or CG, whichever one they'd have to do?
Well, the thing is, if you've ever looked at Channing Tatum straight in his face, he doesn't open his eyes very much. And it's like the whites of his eyes, you could pretty easily like digital out like the white.
Sure. Yeah, I can see that.
Like have it like the red for the color of his eyes. That some could find it a little jarring, but you gotta own it. That's the thing with him.
Maybe they could like make it muted. Like
Yeah,
a really dark red that's not super obvious.
Yeah, don't make it glow unless it's for like.
Oh, it's glowing.
Like if
we hired Warner Bros. CG crew.
Oh no, no. Okay, the eyes should glow for certain occasions, specifically when he's ready to go into action.
Yeah.
Or when he's especially pissed.
Second question. Is he going to have the expanding bow staff or just the full bow staff the whole time?
Now, this is something that could be a bit of an issue. Like, how do we address, like, this weapon of choice?
I think he should just carry a stripper pole that he accidentally broke while filming Magic Mike and use that as his bow staff. What do you think? I think it's a solid plan.
that would only work if we had a scene of Gambit somehow being a male stripper. It's like in like his time off. I don't know. Like the expandable staff thing, that would be something that I would either have him have like find towards the end of the movie,
Yeah.
or have it given to him as like a tool that he uses to help his thieving, more specifically with taking out guards without, having to kill them. It's like there's a lot you can do with a stick that won't kill them outright.
Yeah.
The more specific thing that people are really going to be looking for is how he displays his powers. And the one thing that I really hope they wouldn't do is limit his power to only charging cards. Like, there needs to be, like, a plethora of things that he charges, and there needs to be not just an explanation for how it works just by, like, having him, like, showing it working, but there needs to be a sort of utility to it. Like, much like how Batman has a tool for everything, and Superman is exactly as powerful or has exactly as many powers as he needs for any given situation. As a thief, there are a lot of applications that his power can have, and that needs to be explored.
Sure.
But also just don't do what you did in the fucking X-Men Origins Wolverine movie, because god damn it, if I see another let's only charge the tips of anything, only charge like the borderline of things, it's like, no.
Well, the thing is
No.
about the Wolverine Origins guy, I thought he looked the part, and I thought he played fine. It's just the writing around it was so silly, and just, yeah. He was a less dark spot in a very dark movie. And when I say dark, I mean bad, not like sinister.
Yeah. The issue that I have with Taylor is, one, if you bring him onto the role, there's already going to be a negative connotation because of his connection to the movie. He doesn't have the previous experience playing the character before that movie that Hugh Jackman had with Wolverine. Also, it's a little shorter than I'd like.
I mean, you can film it. You can always film it in a way that makes him taller.
That's true. There are
Some
ways
heels
to
and
like
scenes that don't show his feet.
give him like camera angles that are generous.
Yeah, there's ways around it.
Or you could get Channing Tatum, who's actually 6'1".
I don't know. Channing Tatum's just so buff, though. I don't see Gambit as that big, and I don't know how Channing Tatum looks in a skinny body.
I don't think you've seen how he was drawn in the 90s. But
Well, early 90s, he was normal. It got ridiculous when they gave everybody the giant
It was
chest
like the
and giant shoulders. And,
like everyone got Liefelded out real bad.
Yeah.
With that being said, you can thin him down. Like, these actors are known for being able to adjust their body type.
You know what I think your movie needs?
What's that?
Black jet suits.
Black jet suits. I'm going to kill you.
I think they're cool.
X-Men Apocalypse. I swear to God, if
They
you
flew in a jet. You need a protective black suit because it's tight. It's leather. I don't know.
It made a lot of sense, right?
It's stealthy.
Yeah.
You can't see black in bright daylight.
There's like any of the reasons that you would normally use to justify those costumes did not exist for those scenes.
See, in the first movie, they actually did have the big scene at the end at night.
Yeah,
So
it made sense.
They flew in a stealth jet. It was nighttime at the
Yeah.
Statue of Liberty. Okay.
Yeah, it made sense. For X2, they were going into, at the end, a dimly lit, dark base under a mountain where there isn't light much.
Oh,
And then X-Men Apocalypse, they were fighting in the daylight. I don't know
there's so
why.
many problems with.
Oh, but yeah, don't do
Anything-
that.
Anything else to add for your big movie?
You better wear that headpiece. There's something about Gambit where there are lots of characters that had that thing, but none of them
Yeah.
rocked it quite like he did. Literally none of them. Jean Grey had that shit. Fucking Superman had something pretty close to it. But for Gambit, it's iconic for him. You better wear that damn headpiece. But that's my dream movie. How about you?
Now, if Santa Claus was bringing me my dream movie, it's a little complicated because if I had my choice, I would probably choose some kind of origin movie for a new DC universe. Starting with Batman, I would probably frame it in a way that starts with Batman in a world that doesn't have too much craziness going on, you know, unlike what they did with Man of Steel, putting Man of Steel first and then referencing Batman as if he's already been around doing stuff when you never see him or whatever.
Right.
I would film, not necessarily an origin story, but something like early on in his career. Maybe have, where he does adopt Dick Grayson, as like he's just become Batman not too long ago. He's still getting the hang of things. He still makes mistakes, but he still does things right. And then, on one of the investigations, he's following this gangster that's been killing people around the city. And the gangster also happens to be the gangster that kills Dick Grayson's parents. You could have as some Romani, unregistered kids,
Yeah.
It's not too uncommon, and he kills his parents for a debt or something like that, and then he's left in this environment in some Romani house or whatever, with a small, maybe not a small child, but with a teenager that's crying and traumatized and trying to put things together and just like completely out of it, and he sees his parents get murdered by this assassin and then goes into that.
First question. How old would Dick be?
I mean, no younger than 16.
Oh,
would-
thank God.
I would never. No, I would never have him younger than 16. But you could have him where he's traumatized by this event, and Batman, whether he's seen or not, maybe you could see like Batman's shadow in the dark or something. You could film this in a really cool way.
Yeah.
Have it like raining and lightning outside or something, and all he sees is this dark Batman figure standing over his dead parents, and maybe frame it in a way where he thinks Batman did it or something.
Yeah.
And then like Bruce Wayne trying to do the right thing, takes him in and tries to adopt him, because he's not in the system or something. He's out on the streets by himself or something. You could do so many things with the story to, make it an origin story and then build the bigger universe out of it, Like, we do have these more grounded heroes, and then the big extraterrestrial stuff starts happening, and kicks off because of Superman. Like, I think Man of Steel did that right. But
Yeah.
since I can't really build a universe with my one movie, I would say I want to see a independent Martian Manhunter movie.
Really?
Because I feel like Martian Manhunter is probably the coolest and the least appreciated, if not known, superhero in the DC universe. He was a founding member of the Justice League. He was in the Justice League before Batman and Superman. Fun fact for you.
I'll have you know that Martian Manhunter is getting quite a bit of play.
Just in
Supergirl.
Nobody cares about Supergirl.
Oh,
But
deep burn.
but Martian Manhunter shouldn't be a support character, in my opinion. I think he deserves a headlining role and a headlining movie and a headlining, in a universe that isn't attached to the current DC universe,
Right.
But I think you can cast a movie that's really cool, really cinematic, and has a cool kind of sympathetic dynamic, and make it kind of like, I don't know, like in a modern era, you can make it like a climate change type of thing, you know.
Yeah.
Make it like his civilization, was destroyed by some mistakes they made or something, or hubris or something along those lines. There's different versions where his telepathy, their mental breakdown, where they all lived in like symbiosis with each other, and then some other foreign psychic entity or whatever interacted with them and caused everything to fall apart, or maybe inserted doubts into their minds, or evil thoughts or whatever.
You wouldn't maybe hint at evil white Martians?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe later, maybe in the sequel or something. But,
Yeah.
But I think for the first movie, probably what the premise I would set up is there was this society that lived in symbiosis. They didn't know dishonesty because everybody can read your thoughts openly, and that's what everybody does. It's just understood. That's how their society works. That's how they communicate.
Yeah.
They're
That is their way
honest,
of connecting.
honest to a fault, with each other and with their society and everything. And then some kind of force, whether it be one person in the civilization or whatever, kind of corrupts it like a virus and starts, forcing these kind of like negative thoughts, energy, whatever, into the whole symbiote, and the whole system. And I think you could play with that, or you could go the kind of like climate route where, Mars at one time was a very, fruitful, long-lived planet or whatever. It was. You could even make it so like the origin of life somehow came from Mars and then
Interesting.
migrated in some way, shape, or form to Earth, and then sprouted, life on Earth in some limited fashion or whatever. You could play with it in so many ways.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. It sounds silly, but I'm just like throwing ideas at the wall,
Oh yeah.
But I think you can make a really cool story about a man who's, Martian, whatever the equivalent would be, where he is like, say, some kind of entity in this world, lived in the society, and say he was like the keeper of their history or something, or something that would make it so he lived through the ordeal in some way, shape, or form. Somehow he escapes alive, and he witnesses the death of his people and the death of his family and all these things, and he just replays these. And then he comes to Earth, where you have humans which are not psychically connected, which do dishonest things and hurtful things and have bad thoughts from time to time. And then he has to learn how to filter thoughts and communication and stuff, and he has to learn the etiquette of trying to like communicate with somebody without probing their mind and seeing their deepest, darkest thoughts and desires and stuff. I think you can make for a lot of really cool like character interactions as he's trying to adjust to this new world.
Yeah.
And
kind of like a fish out of water story.
Yeah, a little bit. And you could make it in a way where it starts off, he's lonely, feels like he's alone, and maybe even suicidal or something to a point, extremely depressed. And then maybe he, by happenstance saves somebody, some kid or some person, in trouble. And then that person, like, makes a bond with them and tries to help them through the system and gives them ideas on how to transform himself to look more human and not scare people and adjust to the new world. And then through this threat, maybe through the movie he finds out what the threat was on Mars, or maybe you save that for later. I think that it'd be better to save it for later and have like some kind of more of a character movie for the first one.
Maybe tease that at the end.
Yeah. And I think that would be awesome because it establishes that there's life in outer space, away from Earth in this movie, and helps the universe expand a little bit where you can have like Green Lanterns and stuff. And maybe you could even add like a cameo at the end where a Green Lantern comes to investigate this weird, alien that's come to Earth that was previously an isolated planet, and breaks like a rule or something that you can't intermingle without, advancing to a certain point or something. Any number of things. And I think it would be really cool to just play with all these ideas. Direction, I would want, I would like to say Chris Nolan again because I'm a weirdo. But I mean,
he does a good job.
I don't think Chris Nolan's the best at like character relations and like interactions between individuals. I think he's great for cinematic shots and broad, sweeping, grand stories and stuff like that. But I think for like character to character interactions, you have to have a really, really great director for that. I would probably cast one of two people, and I know it doesn't seem like it, but I think James Cameron would be good for the role, specifically pre-Avatar James Cameron. Because I think he used to do character interactions very well as big cinematic moments with real effects and not drowned in CG. Like
Terminator 2 is a very good example of this.
I mean, he's done a number of movies really well, but I think he would do a great job handling all of this. The other person I would probably consider, especially since WB's familiar with her, is Patty Jenkins.
Ah.
And I say this because the best parts of Wonder Woman to me were the character scenes, where you did have the character development between the ragtag group, between Wonder Woman and Chris Pine's character.
Yeah, I would agree.
Of course, the acting contributed to that greatly because they had a great cast of actors and actresses. But I think Patty Jenkins would be a great rising name that you wouldn't have to pay a ton of money, so you could keep the budget a little lower, and in a universe and a studio that's familiar with her and can trust her, you know. And I think she could do a really great job as long as you stuck to a kind of character-focused arc with Martian Manhunter. And I don't know. I think she's got the right idea in a lot of ways, and maybe just needs help with that third act. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
As for actors, I really don't think you need too many big names. You could probably have a lot of like new talent and give them a little bit of, you know, maybe.
I think Martian Manhunter would actually be perfect for new talent.
I think it could, definitely. But the person I had in mind for Martian Manhunter, this might seem weird, but stick with me,
Okay.
is Benedict Cumberbatch. And the reason I say that is because he already looks like an alien. And I know it sounds like a joke, but seriously,
His head.
he looks like an alien.
His head.
And I feel like his look alone,
his head.
not just putting his great talent aside,
his head.
he looks like a guy trying to be a human. And I think that would be perfect as a person like trying to represent themselves as a human, but is not quite there, you know?
This sounds less like perfect casting and more like an attempt to out Benedict Cumberbatch for what he really is.
You're on to me. But, you know, besides that, you know, the visual aspect of it, he's a great actor. And
He is.
I think he could do an awesome job bringing depth and believability to Martian Manhunter as a character. And then, you know, in the third act, you could really emphasize how powerful Martian Manhunter is. You know, in New 52's Justice League of America, the first run of it, Martian Manhunter was brought in specifically to be a countermeasure to Superman. Because by himself, if Superman were going head-to-head with Martian Manhunter and you didn't have the whole, like, fire being a weakness thing,
Yeah.
you could literally... Martian Manhunter could literally kill Superman. And he almost does. In the Injustice arcs,
Yeah.
you know, he could have killed Wonder Woman and Superman had they not basically blasted themselves.
Right. And that's aside from his strength, like he has the telepathic ability, I think, to just end him, and also phasing through solid matter.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much you could do with this character that could be really cool. It's like if you took the character from Avengers Vision, his interpretation of it, you could have that type of Martian Manhunter to start off, but then, you know, again, trying to adjust to these bad thoughts and negative energies and bad intent. You know, even if they're not acted upon, he can hear you, he can feel you thinking about it, even though you would never act on it, you would filter it out. He can see you, and not understanding these interactions, he rages out, you know, or something, you know, any number of things. You could tell what the bad intent was, and, you know, it would be a cool lesson on, like, making the analogy of acting on a idea or thought or process. You know, perhaps you see a guy in the street that has kind of predatory thoughts, like he looks at a woman on the street and he imagines how easy it could be to do something to this woman or something like that. But he filters it out like most humans.
Yeah.
And even though those are crazy thoughts, he knows that's not normal. I shouldn't do that. Filters it out, has some form of a conscience or whatever. But Martian Manhunter doesn't understand that. And so he sees it as an immediate threat and maybe goes to, stop it before he's even, and then he has to kind of learn that from the character he saved or is interacting with or the family. And then he learns what it means to have a family, even among bad thoughts. And he learns what it means to forgive somebody for something they've done or thought about, or all these different dynamics you could do, and you could show how Martian becomes more of a human and adopts our culture and starts to restrain himself and keep himself out of people's heads out of courtesy and stuff like that. And then that third act, whatever happens, maybe somebody finds out what he is and reports him to the government, and the government comes after, his family or friends or whatever, and he's got to try to save them. And then all the powers come out, the super strength, the telepathy, the being able to phase through matter, the ability to shapeshift and disguise himself. I think it could be really cool and really awesome. And again, I think most of the characters, including Martian Manhunter, would be well suited to be, new actors. But I think Benedict Cumberbatch does kind of look the type, and he does have the acting range to do it. He
does.
He would bring the respectability needed to draw people to a Martian Manhunter movie. And I think once you establish him on the big screen, then you can really go forward with him and introduce him to the greater universe and have him interact with other characters. And there's so much you could do with him. And I love Martian Manhunter in the comics, but I think he's just so underappreciated.
Yeah.
The Justice League, the original Justice League animated show, I think did a really cool Martian Manhunter. And there's a few stories in there, like the Christmas episode I remember explicitly, I really loved, because Martian Manhunter, seeing himself as an exile, as, an only guy, he was going to exile himself to the Watchtower over the holidays while everybody's doing their thing or whatever. And Superman, also being one of the last of his kind, understanding that kind of alien isolation, maybe to a lesser extent because he looks like a human, but, he brings Martian Manhunter along to his family's home where Ma and Pa Kent are having Christmas, and he has Lois there, and, they give him a present, and he experiences all the traditions, and then, they encourage him to share something from his culture, and he sings a song or something for him or whatever in his own tongue and, voice, and his natural voice, and that he morphs back to his natural shape, and the parents are just like, all right, I'm glad you feel comfortable and stuff, and he like has a great like Christmas with this family environment that he thought he could never have again, in any way, shape, or form, and he has this nice little connection with Clark and Lois and the Ma and Pa Kent, and like it was a really like heartwarming story, and I think you could do that kind of character like arc in a movie very well.
Oh my God, yeah.
So. That would be my choice. Very elaborate, and I wasn't sure because I was thinking like reboot, but then the idea, I always thought about it, but I never like put the pieces together. I think that could work out really well.
Oh my God, yeah.
And you wouldn't need a really big cast. You
really wouldn't.
You need like maybe 4 core characters. One guy to be the main villain from the government that comes to investigate him or something.
Yeah.
Maybe Amanda Waller.
Probably, yeah.
Then you need the character or the family that he saves or helps or whatever else, and that helps him guide him through these human interactions and understanding these different things, and then the main actor himself. And you can cast any number of extras and stuff to be everybody else,
Right.
I think it could be a really cheap movie, to make, as long as you don't drown every single second in CG nonsense or something.
Right.
And
like for him and his maybe not completely natural state, but his like more humanoid but still green.
Yeah.
Like the practical effects.
Yeah, you can make him, human the majority of the time if you wanted to. You could just make him Benedict Cumberbatch for the majority of the movie, but then the action scenes are in the introduction, he's his natural state, and I think that'd be cool. And you'd have to spend a little bit on CG to have him like phase through stuff, or to have him transform on screen or something. But I don't think that's like asking too much when you look at a $300 million movie like Justice League, and you're like, what did they spend all that money on?
Cocaine. Yeah, that is actually a pretty sweet idea. I would love to see that movie.
Yeah. So maybe I'll write a script and harass it.
Yeah, do it.
Stop disrespecting Martian Manhunter. All right. founding member of the Justice League.
Yeah, it's like there is storytelling gold here.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up our topics for the week. But seeing how it's Christmas, I thought it would be very appropriate to give you my Christmas present. So, in the holiday spirit, I have some gifts to give you.
Ooh.
Primarily because they're comic related.
Of course.
And here you are. Merry Christmas. Mon ami.
Oh, buddy.
So here I got for you and framed for you the second full appearance of Gambit cover, Jim Lee. And you have some sexy eye candy to go along with it.
Hey.
But this is his second full appearance, 267 of Uncanny X-Men. And I thought you could really get a kick out of this one. And it's in really good condition. I was really surprised when I found it because I didn't expect to find one, especially in that good condition. I had a shot at getting you the first full appearance. There's a little divisiveness because he makes a cameo and Uncanny X-Men Annual number 12, I think. But he's just like in the background, and that predates Uncanny X-Men number 266 by like a week or two because fuck it, the writers said.
Yeah, they were really close. Like either way.
So I had a shot, but I just couldn't get there before someone else came and swooped in and bought it. Literally an hour before I got there. So
oh, sweet mercy.
I got that one for you, and then the other one I thought was probably one of the most iconic and coolest Gambit covers, where he's sitting there holding Rogue, and I thought you'd like it a lot, so I figured why not give this to a guy who can really appreciate it.
You damn right.
So Merry Christmas.
Hooray! Yeah, your present is coming, and you may or may not like it.
oh, I'm so anxious. Well, folks, that wraps up another mediocre edition of Hit the Books podcast.
Mediocre.
I want to thank you all for sticking with us. If you like what you hear, be sure to hit like and subscribe down below on YouTube and follow us on your podcast services of choice and on social networks like Facebook and Twitter. On Twitter, we're at HTBvids. On Facebook, you can find us at facebook.com/hitthebooks. Our website is htbvids.com, where you can find links to all of this stuff really easily. And we have our own private blogs that we'll be posting in not too long from now. I put a new link on there on the webpage where you can actually see the previous covers of the week, and you can see if we reviewed them, whether the cover matched the drapes or not. Down below the rating, and there's a picture and everything there for you. If you want to find more of this stuff, you can always use our main resource, which is freshcomics.us, where you can always find the latest releases. Are there any other big things you want to put out there?
Not that I can think of yet.
Well, I want to wish you all a happy holiday. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and if you celebrate anything else this time of year, I hope you enjoy it.
Festivus for the rest of us. Ba-doop-ba-doop-doop-doo-doo.
Until next time, I'm your host, Chris Holcomb.
And I'm Emery Saunders.
And we'll see you next week.
Merry Christmas.
Bye. Silent bye.
Holy bye. All is calm.
We're so stupid.